Chapter 1072. 1072 Chapter 1072 Wuxia. Lu Ming carefully thought about it and realized that it was not of much use to him. He was about to leave. Get lost. Suddenly, a loud roar could be heard. In the sky, a young man in white with a long sword on his back stepped through the air. A terrifying sword power emanated from his body, pressing down on everyone. Wuxia. Wuxia of the Heavenly Martial Sword School. Many people's expressions changed. The Heavenly Martial Sword sect was extremely prosperous. It was one of the top forces in the central continent, and few forces could compare to it. In this generation, the Heavenly Martial Sword School also produced many Heaven's favorites. There were two second-grade Heaven's favorites, Wu Qingkong and Wuxia. Wu Qingkong was the top talent of the Jianghu sword sect, while Wuxia was the second. Don't look at how he was ranked second. His strength wasn't any weaker than Yin Bupo, Jianghu, and the others. With two Heaven's favorites in one generation, the Heavenly Martial Sword sect's reputation was like the sun in the sky. Get lost. I want this place. Wuxia stood high above and looked down. Many people gritted their teeth. This place was huge. Wuxia could clearly choose a place to comprehend, but he wanted to chase others away. However, he didn't dare to voice his anger and could only leave. Many people were just in the middle of comprehending and had no choice but to stop and leave. You're still not leaving? Wuxia looked at Lu Ming, his eyes sharp like lightning. Lu Ming's expression was calm. He glanced at Wuxia and walked away. This place was of no use to him. He had planned to leave anyway, so there was no need to fight with Wuxia. The Heavenly Martial Sword School is really overbearing. Keep it down. The Heavenly Sword sect has sent many powerful cultivators here. The top cultivator of the previous generation is here too. He's not as talented as Wuxia and Wu Qingkong, but he's been cultivating for more than 10 years. He's very powerful. We'd better not offend him. Some people discussed in low voices and left the place. Lu Ming headed north and soon reappeared 10,000 miles away. Ga! A cry resounded through the sky as a giant eagle flew across the sky. What a powerful aura! This was also a terrifyingly powerful bird of prey, the overlord of this secret realm. The giant eagle flew to a cliff in front of them and landed. Lu Ming then realized that there was a nest on the cliff. That's... From afar, Lu Ming noticed that there was a strange aura on the cliff. There were vague traces on it that seemed to be a human figure. There are traces left behind by an omnipotent expert. I wonder if it'll be of any use to me. Lu Ming carefully approached the giant eagle's nest and waited patiently. This wait lasted for an entire day. The next day, the giant eagle let out a long cry, spread its wings and flew away from its nest. The giant eagle was far away. Lu Ming rushed to the bottom of the cliff to take a closer look. There was a figure carved on the cliff wall, and this figure seemed to be launching an attack. Boom! Boom! He took a closer look and saw that the figure seemed to be moving. A terrifying killing intent burst out and enveloped Lu Ming. Kill? With a loud shout, the figure's palm struck towards Lu Ming. A terrifying killing intent enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body turned cold and he could not muster up any thoughts of resistance. The other party's palm directly landed on his body. Lu Ming was shocked. He retreated backward, only to realize that everything was an illusion. Amazing! Lu Ming heaved a long sigh of relief. He was a little shocked but also a little excited. This was a martial technique that was extremely powerful and contained killing intent. It could even affect one's mind. Lu Ming's third blood meridian was able to make use of the powerful slaughter concept. This martial art technique was very useful to Lu Ming. I'll try to comprehend it here and see if I can comprehend this battle technique, Zhang Xian said. Lu Ming stepped forward and took a closer look. Lu Ming guarded his heart tightly and nothing moved. Buzz. This time it wasn't a palm strike. A sword appeared in the figure's hand and he slashed out. Lu Ming did not move and let the sword cut through him. Sure enough, the combat sword was like a phantom. After a slash, it performed the next move. This time it turned into a saber. Buzz. Whoosh. This figure moved unhindered, displaying all sorts of attacks. The weapon in his hand was also unpredictable. What an amazing martial skill. Lu Ming looked at it for a while and finally figured out something. This kind of martial technique didn't have a fixed form, or rather, the form was only on the surface. The main point was the intent. After understanding the intent of this martial technique, any weapon would be able to exert great power. This was a killing style specially created for killing people, and its power was extremely strong. Lu Ming sat cross-legged in the air, comprehending and studying in detail. In the evening, a screech resounded through the sky. The giant eagle had returned. Lu Ming left the place and sat cross-legged not far away to continue his comprehension. The next day after the giant eagle left, Lu Ming returned to the cliff to continue his comprehension. Brat, get lost. Suddenly, a loud roar interrupted Lu Ming's comprehension. There was a cold glint in Lu Ming's eyes. He turned to look. Wutsang, this person again. Now he had his eyes on this cliff. Get lost. Lu Ming shouted coldly. Wutsang was stunned. He did not expect that Lu Ming would dare to tell him to scram. Then Wutsang's eyes were filled with killing intent. He stared at Lu Ming and said, Kid, do you know who you're talking to? If you say the wrong thing, you'll have to pay with your life. Get lost. Lu Ming's voice turned colder as he said the second word. You're looking for death. Wutsang shouted coldly. His sword chi surged and he slashed out his palm. A terrifying sword radiance slashed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming casually waved his hand and sent the sword gleam flying. He then stood up and walked toward Wutsang. You have some ability, but you're wrong to be arrogant in front of me. Wutsang shouted as he unsheathed his sword. Whoosh! The combat sword cut through the void, leaving a horrifying crack in the space. Roar, roar, roar. A dragon's roar resounded from within Lu Ming's body. His dragon power burst forth, and a purple light emanated from Lu Ming's body. With a palm strike, Wutsang's sword chi was destroyed. Lu Ming did not stop and continued to move toward Wutsang. You. Wutsang was shocked. He found it unbelievable. Lu Ming's combat strength was far beyond his imagination. Where did this expert come from? Wutsang didn't have time to think. He quickly retreated, and a battle sword bloodline appeared above his head. It was a divine level 8th bloodline. He performed the blood fusion and transformed into a combat sword. He slashed out a shocking sword radiance in an attempt to cut Lu Ming in half. Clang. Lu Ming clenched his fists and activated the prison-suppressing heaven technique, striking the sword with a terrifying force. The combat sword trembled crazily and almost fell apart, flying far away. Buzz. Lu Ming took a step forward and threw a punch. The combat sword shook violently and was sent flying tens of thousands of meters away, cutting 2 mountains in half. Run, run. Wutsang was terrified. He controlled his sword and turned to run. Lu Ming stepped into the air and gave chase. Wutsang transformed into a sword beam and was extremely fast. He flew hundreds of miles in an instant. However, Lu Ming was even faster. He approached at an extreme speed and Wutsang was almost scared out of his wits. Stop. I'm a disciple of the Heavenly Martial Sword faction. If you dare to attack me again, you'll be making an enemy out of the Heavenly Martial Sword faction. Wutsang was afraid. He brought up the Jianghu sword sect in hopes of subduing Lu Ming. Chapter 1073. 1073 5 Killing Styles. Lu Ming sneered and continued to step forward, clenching his fist and punching. Without a doubt, Lu Sheng had exploded with 7 rays of dragon energy, activated the prison-suppressing heavenly art, and combined with the 5-colored will, the power was terrifying. Clang. Another punch landed on the sword. This time Wutsang couldn't block it anymore. The sword exploded, revealing his true body. He spat out a mouthful of blood and ran away frantically. Heavens, who is that? It seems to be Wutsang. Yes, it's him. He's actually fleeing and being hunted down. Who's so powerful? Can you chase after Wutsang? Then, isn't that the loser? He's the one who's chasing after Wutsang. He's so terrifying. He just destroyed Wutsang's bloodline fusion with 1 punch. What trash. He's clearly a rare heaven's favorite with unparalleled combat strength. No wonder he could pass the Tiangang cave. Not far away, 5 or 6 people were passing by. When they saw this scene, they were dumbfounded. Wutsang did not know Lu Ming because Wutsang was not there when they went to the Tianshu cave. He only arrived after the secret book of the Saint Mansion was opened. However, the few people who passed by recognized Lu Ming. Back then they had thought that Lu Ming had passed the Tianshu cave by luck. Now they were really shocked and thought that they were dreaming. Lu Ming cast the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps at an astonishing speed. He caught up with Wutsang in a few moments and threw another punch. Don't. Wutsang roared and tried his best to resist, but half of his body was still broken by the punch. Bang. Then Lu Ming stomped his foot down. Wu Tsang screamed in pain and was torn into pieces. Another second-grade heaven's favorite was killed. However, just like Shui Luozi after Wu Tsang was killed, another white light enveloped him. Not far away his body actually condensed again. He looked at Lu Ming with hatred, then trembled and disappeared without a trace. Another destiny talisman. Lu Ming frowned. These second-class geniuses all had the potential to become emperors. The major forces valued them and paid a high price to buy destiny talismans from Tianxia Academy. Almost every second-grade heaven's favorite had a piece. A second-grade heaven's favorite was too important. He had the chance to become an emperor. An emperor could make a force an overlord force and prosper for 10 to 20,000 years. His role was simply too great. He was many times more important than a supreme being. Those overlord forces hoped that they would have a successor. If there was no successor, there would be no new emperor in the future generations, and an overlord force would quickly weaken, such as Medicine King's Valley and the Talisman Sect. In the history of the Divine Wilderness continent, there were countless overlord factions. However, how many of them could continue to prosper and pass down their legacy? Very few. Many of the overlord forces had been weakened because there were no emperors among the latecomers. One could imagine how much the overlord forces valued second-grade geniuses. In the distance, those people gasped and broke out in cold sweat. Lu Ming was too ruthless. He killed a second-grade heaven's favorite just like that. Fortunately, he had the destiny talisman. Otherwise, the Heaven Martial Sword School would have gone crazy. Lu Ming swept a glance at the few of them and ignored them. He returned to the edge of the cliff and continued to comprehend the killing move. Tianxia Academy was still surrounded by people outside the Wanxiang Jade Wall. High up in the sky, the various supreme martial artists were sitting cross-legged, waiting silently. Buzz. Suddenly, a white light flashed and Wu Tsang's figure appeared. Everyone's eyes looked over in unison. Wu Tsang, it's Wu Tsang. He's been killed. What kind of danger did he encounter? It seems that the secret realm is really dangerous. I wonder how many of those who didn't have life talismans died. Danger is accompanied by opportunity. If there's something to gain, it's worth it. Many people looked at Wu Tsang and discussed among them Slaviers. Wu Tsang, what's going on? A supreme martial artist from the Jianghu Sword School asked. Wu Tsang didn't dare to not answer the supreme martial artist's question, so he immediately began to explain. A dark-skinned young man with a simple and honest appearance but extremely cunning. Wu Tsang did not know what Lu Ming's name was, so he described his appearance. What? Wasn't this the same face as Lu Shaoqing? He again. He's really a god of death. First, he killed many experts from Cold Blood Hall, then Blood Luo, and now he killed Wu Tsang. He's really terrifying. He killed so many heaven's favorites. His combat strength is so shocking. I'm afraid he's at the top even among the second-grade heaven's favorites. Many people exclaimed. Cold Blood Hall's people looked gloomy, and Blood Luo gritted his teeth. If you guys are discussing, then go ahead. Why did you have to involunteer them? On the cliff in the secret realm of the Saint Mansion, Lu Ming was studying carefully. Every time the giant eagle returned, he would leave. The next day, when the giant eagle went out to look for food, he would go and comprehend. 4 or 5 consecutive days he had gained a lot. The mark was not complete. It was only a kind of intent. Lu Ming comprehended 5 killing styles from this intent. Lu Ming named them the 5 killing styles. The 5 slaughter forms didn't have any specific moves. It was just a kind of slaughter concept's usage method. In other words, without slaughter concept, it was completely useless. However, when Lu Ming borrowed the power of the 3rd blood meridian, he could borrow the slaughter concept, and the 5 killing styles could come in handy. Previously, Lu Ming had only borrowed the power of the 3rd bloodline. With the 5 techniques of massacre, it would undoubtedly be more powerful. It's almost time. 5 days later, Lu Ming got up and left. This imprint was not complete, so even if he continued to comprehend it, he would not gain much. Lu Ming left the place and continued to look for opportunities. A day later, Lu Ming arrived at a lush mountain range. Nest, why have all the spirit herbs on the way been dug up? Which bastard did this? Dandan ran around like a gust of wind, cursing and swearing. The spiritual qi in this mountain range was very dense. Ancient trees towered into the sky. Along the way they found dozens of pits, all left behind by the spiritual herbs that had been dug out. According to Dandan's speculation, they were all left behind by level 8 spirit herbs. His anger had obviously been taken by someone else. They dug too thoroughly. Not a single hair was left. Dandan sighed. Lu Ming was also speechless. They had changed a few positions in this forest and it was the same. There's someone in front. Suddenly, Dandan widened her eyes and climbed onto Lu Ming's shoulder. Lu Ming concealed his aura and moved forward carefully. In front of him, a figure in white clothes was walking in the air and flashing in the forest. He looked very young from the back, but he was bald and had a round and smooth head. His movement technique was extremely fast, like a gust of wind. In a moment he appeared in front of a spiritual herb. "I have rice hair, good." The bald man groaned and then waved his sleeve. The spiritual herb left the ground and was collected by him. Could he be a saint monk from the Western Desert? Lu Ming was greatly shocked. Legend had it that the Western Desert was different from other places. They cultivated the Dharma, and the entire Western Desert was mainly focused on the Dharma, with ancient temples everywhere. Looking at the bald man's clothes and the name of Buddha, he was clearly a holy monk of the Western Desert. After the holy monk put away the spirit herbs, he continued forward. Not long after, he came to a dark underground cave and observed it carefully. After a while he retreated a few miles and took out a round plate. Then a purple light beam shot up into the sky. Chapter 1074. 1074 Chapter 1074 Heartless Monk. In the hands of Western Desert Saint Monk, a round plate emitted a purple light that shot up into the sky, piercing through the clouds. It was extremely shocking and even from far away it could be seen. After a long while, Western Desert Saint Monk put away the disc, and the light pillar disappeared. This was because there were many streaks of light flashing over from the distance. Someone had been attracted here. What is this guy trying to do? Lu Ming, who was hiding not far away, saw everything. The holy monk kept the disc and returned to the entrance of the dark cave. He shouted, "The treasure in this cave is mine." After shouting, his figure flashed and he quickly left the cave. Not long after, more than 10 streaks of light flew over, revealing more than 10 figures. "The treasure is in the cave, kill. We can't let anyone else get there first. Get lost, it's mine." More than a dozen experts directly rushed into the cave. Roar. Inside the cave, the wild roars of ferocious beasts came out. The entire ground was shaking, and an intense battle was taking place in the cave. "This guy is killing with a borrowed knife." Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Didn't they say that the holy monks of the Western Desert were all kind-hearted and would save all living beings? This guy was too unreliable. Could he be a fake? "I have rice hair, Buddha is merciful." That guy chanted the name of Buddha again. His figure flashed, but he did not enter the cave. Instead, he went in another direction. "This guy is very mysterious. Let's go and take a look." Lu Ming quietly followed behind the Western Desert Saint Monk and came to a place dozens of miles away. There was a huge cave in this place. At this moment, Lu Ming heard a deafening roar coming from the cave, which gradually faded into the distance. This? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. He finally understood what this guy's purpose was. This cave was connected to the cave tens of li away. Western Desert's guy had used the others in that cave to lure the beasts away, so he could easily enter from this cave and find the treasure. How was this a merciful Saint Monk? This was clearly an unscrupulous monk. The monk sneakily looked around. Lu Ming finally saw his face. She had a baby face, slightly chubby and smooth skin that made women jealous. She was pink and tender and she looked harmless. He looked around, chanted the name of Buddha and rushed into the cave. This guy is really not a good person. On his shoulder, Dan looked at him with disdain. Lu Ming pursed his lips and thought, "You are similar to him. There must be some treasure in this cave. Let's go in and take a look." Lu Ming also rushed into the cave carefully. The cave was huge and after a few thousand meters, it became even wider like a huge underground cave. In front of them there were still faint rumbles. It was obvious that the battle was extremely intense. Next I saw a few pits. There must be spirit herbs growing there but they were all dug out by that monk. What a pity. Dandan sighed. The two of them moved forward and found that the underground caves were crisscrossed, and the monk's figure had long disappeared. Lu Ming walked forward casually and suddenly stopped. A purple light attracted his attention. On one of the walls, a hazy purple light was emitted. It was hazy and beautiful. Lu Ming circulated his essential core and wiped off the rock on the surface. A purple crystal the size of a longan appeared. These are purple flame crystals. After the initial shock, Lu Ming was overjoyed. The purple flame crystal was a precious material that was extremely rare. It could be used to refine weapons and could also be used to refine pills. It was priceless. The most important thing was that the purple flame crystal was one of the most important main ingredients in refining the Nirvana elixir. It was a level 9 material. Lu Ming did not expect to encounter a purple flame crystal here. He immediately condensed his vital essence into a knife and dug out the surrounding rocks to dig out the purple flame crystal. It's so heavy. A purple flame crystal the size of a dragon's eye, yet it weighed more than 5,000 kilograms. It was truly shocking. I don't know if there are any more. After Lu Ming kept the purple flame crystal, he looked around carefully. It would be great if he could find a few more. Although the Nirvana elixir was not of much use to Lu Ming, it was very useful to others. For example, if Fatty Kongjin had Nirvana pills, he could even raise his third bloodline to the 9th level of the divine level. His parents, his disciples, Xian Yanqing and Mulan would all be of great use to him in the future. If there was a chance, Lu Ming wanted to collect the materials and refine a few furnaces. After walking around for a while, Lu Ming indeed discovered something. A purple light was emitting from a wall. Just as Lu Ming was about to dig, a terrifying gust of wind attacked him. Lu Ming was shocked. He turned around and struck out a palm. Bang! A terrifying force gushed toward Lu Ming and he could not help but take a few steps back. What a tyrannical power! Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Although he did not release his dragon energy just now, his vital essence was extremely robust. In addition to the 5 types of concepts and the prison suppressing heaven technique, he could kill an ordinary second-level spiritual god realm martial artist with a single palm strike. However, he was now forced to retreat. My hair. A Buddhist chant was heard and a harmless face appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was the monk. He looked very young in his 20s. He squinted his eyes and smiled. He put his hands together and said, "This benefactor, the fierce beast in this cave was lured away by a monk's friend. It's not good for you to take advantage of it like this, right?" Even when he spoke, the monk was still smiling. Lu Ming and Dandan looked down on them. Those people were clearly tricked by the monk, but they became his friends in his mouth. How shameless. Master, everyone who saw it has a share. I saw all of your methods just now. If word gets out, I'm afraid it won't be good for the reputation of Western Desert's Saint Monk. Lu Ming said with a smile. My hair is white, my Buddha is merciful. I think you have misunderstood, benefactor. A monk should be merciful. The baby-faced monk chanted the name of Buddha. Roar. Tyrant hadn't finished his words when a loud roar was heard. A giant lizard with purple flames lunged at Tyrant. Buzz. Tyrant's body glowed with a golden light. He struck out a palm and a huge golden palm print landed on the purple lizard's body. With a loud bang, the lizard was smashed into pieces. Mercy? Lu Ming was tongue-tied. My hair is white, my Buddha is merciful. The monk chanted the name of Buddha again and looked at Lu Ming. Benefactor, this little monk has taken a fancy to this purple flame crystal. Why don't you give it to this little monk? So what if I don't? Lu Ming said. My hair is as white as rice, my Buddha. Hair your head. I know you don't have hair. Lu Ming shouted and suddenly launched an attack. The dragon power in his body burst out, and his strength increased greatly. He threw a punch at the unscrupulous monk. Wuyang Monk's body shone brightly. The dazzling golden light spread out, making the unscrupulous monk look like the reincarnation of Buddha. He looked solemn. In addition, he had a harmless face. If Lu Ming had not secretly seen him before, he would really think that he was an eminent monk. Boom. The heartless monk struck out with his palm and the golden palm print collided with Lu Ming's fist. Chapter 1075. 1075 Dragon Carp, Battle with Wu Qingkong. Boom. A terrifying explosion sounded, and the force shot out in all directions. The underground cave emitted a terrifying vibration. The rock of this underground cave was extremely hard, probably because it had been inhabited by powerful fierce beasts all year round. If it was an ordinary cave, it would have exploded immediately. Even so, the entire underground cave was shaking violently. Bang, bang. After the first move, Lu Ming's body trembled and he took a few steps back. He's so strong. This monk's strength is actually so terrifying? Lu Ming was extremely shocked. At this moment he had already unleashed his dragon power, but he was still forced back by his opponent. The power of that golden palm print was astonishing, as if it could suppress everything. It was a direct counter to the prison's suppressing heavenly art. Lu Ming was shocked. The unscrupulous monk was also surprised. He did not expect Lu Ming to be able to take his palm without being injured. Roar. The shaking here attracted the attention of the beasts on the other side. They roared loudly. Clearly some beasts were rushing over here. I'm a little kid. Benefactor, you're very powerful. I'll give this purple flame crystal to you then. Goodbye. The monk chanted the name of Buddha and left with his sleeves fluttering. Western Desert is truly unfathomable. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. The Western Desert had always been the territory of the Buddhist sect since ancient times. It had always been mysterious and extremely powerful. Many people said that out of the 5 territories of the divine wilderness continent, the Western Desert was only second to the central continent. Roar. The roar was like thunder, and the underground cave rumbled. Lu Ming did not think much and dug out the purple flame crystal. With a move of his body he left the place. Following that, Lu Ming walked around the underground cave for a while but did not find the third piece of purple flame crystal. However, he encountered a few purple giant lizards that he killed. However, it was obvious that there was a nest of giant lizards in the underground cave, some of which were very powerful. Lu Ming did not stay for long. He walked around for a while, then left the cave and flew into the distance. Hoo-hoo. A strong wind blew and Lu Ming smiled. He was in a good mood after obtaining 2 purple flame crystals. Each of the 7 main ingredients required to refine the nirvana elixir was extremely precious and rarely appeared in the outside world. Now that he had obtained one, it could be considered an opportunity. Naturally, Lu Ming was in a good mood. Boom. An earth-shattering explosion rang out. In front of them, sword chi soared into the sky, inscriptions glittered, and the space was torn apart. There was an intense battle going on. Lu Ming flew at top speed. He cast the water concept and condensed a cloud of mist. He hid in the mist and watched. There were a total of 4 people in the great battle. Lu Ming was quite familiar with a few of them. They were Goddess Tan Xiang Kong Xan from the Qianxia Academy, Wu Qingkong from the Qianwu Sword Sect, and a brawny man in his 40s. He was as strong as Wu Qingkong. The 4 of them were in a chaotic battle. However, it was obvious that Goddess Tan Xiang and Kong Xian were working together. They fought fiercely with Wu Qingkong and the brawny man. At this moment, Lu Ming noticed that there was a small lake below. The water was clear and there were 3 koi swimming around in the lake. These 3 carps were golden and there was light emitting from their bodies. They gathered and scattered at times, and when they gathered they looked like a real dragon. Dragon carp, it's a dragon carp. Lu Ming was shocked. The dragon carp was also a supreme treasure. It was said to be the descendant of a true dragon. It had the true blood of a true dragon in its body and was used to refine pills. It was a rare treasure medicine and its value was even higher than the purple flame crystal. Coincidentally, the blood of the dragon carp was one of the 7 main ingredients to refine the nirvana elixir. You guys want to fight with me? You're looking for death. The dragon carp is mine. Wu Qingkong shouted, full of killing intent. Wu Qingkong, don't be too overbearing. There are 3 dragon carps. How about we each get one? Tan Xiang spoke. 1 rule per party. Do you have the qualifications? All 3 of them are mine. Wu Qingkong sneered. His sword chi whistled and cut the space. It was terrifying. The other brawny man didn't say anything. His entire body was emitting white light. He waved his palm and a huge hand appeared, tearing the sky and the earth. This is the sky-splitting great palm imprint. This person should be an expert from the Overlord Force, the Ji family. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Among the 3 parties, Wu Qingkong had amazing combat strength, and the strong man from the Ji family had a high cultivation and was not weak either. However, when Goddess Tan Xiang and Kong Xian joined forces, their combat strength was also very terrifying and not weaker than others. It was difficult to determine the winner in a battle between 3 parties. Lu Ming smiled. He suddenly used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and rushed toward the surface of the lake. In an instant he appeared above the lake. He stretched out his hand and a huge hand made of vital essence appeared, grabbing at the 3 dragon carps. Who is it? You're looking for death. The people in the air were shocked and Wu Qingkong roared. Just as the three dragon carps were about to land in Lu Ming's hands, their bodies glowed and transformed into a ray of light. In a flash, they escaped from Lu Ming's giant primordial chi hand. Lu Ming was shocked. Just as he was about to capture it with all his might, a terrifying sword chi appeared in the space and slashed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming had no choice but to turn around and throw a punch. Bang! The sword chi was destroyed. Buzz! Whoosh! In a flash, Wu Qingkong, the brawny man from the Ji family, goddess Tan Xiang, and Kong Xian appeared around Lu Ming. However, they did not attack immediately. Instead, they locked their auras on Lu Ming. Kid, it's you? Wu Qingkong was shocked when he saw Lu Ming clearly. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian were also surprised. They recognized Lu Ming. Brat, to be able to block my sword, you must have some ability. You deliberately hid your strength before. Wu Qingkong looked at Lu Ming coldly and continued, however, since you dared to capture a dragon carp right under my nose, you must have reached the end of your life. The Martial Saint's secret realm is a place for those who see it. I saw a treasure, so of course I can help. Lu Ming pursed his lips slightly. If you make a move, you have to pay the price with your life. Wu Qingkong's killing intent exploded. He already had the intention to kill Lu Ming when Lu Ming refused to give him the quota for the marrow cleansing pool. Now his killing intent was even more intense. Whoosh! Wu Qingkong swung his sword and a terrifying sword chi slashed at Lu Ming. It was even more powerful than before. Lu Ming was fearless. He activated the prison destructive heavenly art, exploded with dragon power and threw a punch. Boom! Heaven and earth trembled and the force surged. Water pillars rose from the lake below. The three dragon carps flickered and dodged the force. Bang! The sword chi dispersed and Lu Ming broke it with a punch. He stepped forward and said in a cold voice, "Just you? You're still lacking." Then he threw another punch. Lu Ming's fist seemed to contain the force of hundreds of millions of June. It was terrifying and shocking, causing the entire space to tremble. So strong? Wu Qingkong was extremely shocked. Genuine vitality surged in his body. The sound of swords rang out continuously as he slashed out shocking sword chi. However, it was useless. Lu Ming was like an invincible god of war. He punched out with his fist force, continuously destroying the sword chi and quickly approaching Wu Qingkong. On the side, Fairy Tan Xiang, Kong Xian, and the others were also extremely shocked. They had never expected that this young man, who was thought to have passed the Tianshu cave by luck, would have such a powerful combat strength. It was too terrifying. Why does this person's fighting style look so familiar? Fairy Tan Xiang said. I have the same feeling. Kong Xian said. Buzz. Suddenly, the strong man from the Ji family moved and pounced at the dragon carp below. Chapter 1076. 1076 Chapter 1076 Great Battle against Xue Feng. Don't even think about it. Die. Fairy Tan Xiang shouted. With a wave of her hand, a few pills flew out. The pills glowed and turned into weapons that attacked the Ji family's brawny man. At the same time, Kong Xian also attacked the burly man from the Ji family. The three of them started a great battle. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming was brave and invincible. He stepped on the void and his fist strength was shocking. The air kept exploding. Wu Qingkong was forced to step back. He was at a complete disadvantage. In the end, he let out a long howl and used the fusion of blood and meridians to form a combat sword. The sword chi whistled as he fought Lu Ming. To be honest, Wu Qingkong was very powerful, much stronger than Blood Luozi. He was indeed one of the most powerful masters under the five magnates. He had the right to be proud. However, his cultivation was still at the first level of the spiritual god realm. Lu Ming had never been afraid of anyone at the same level. Clang. Clang. After a few consecutive punches, the combat sword was sent flying, and it kept vibrating in the air. Damn it, who are you? Impossible. Wu Qingkong shouted in disbelief. He could not believe that a man who had appeared out of nowhere could have such terrifying combat power. Not far away, Kong Xian and the others were also shocked. Wu Qingkong was completely suppressed. It was too shocking. Who could do it except for the five magnates? Boom. 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 Right at this moment, a terrifying explosion sounded from afar, and a blood-red light flew over at extreme speed. Buzz. A burly figure appeared in the air. His eyes were like lightning, and the moment he saw Lu Ming, he burst out with a shocking killing intent. Lu Shaoqing die. The figure let out a furious roar and threw a punch. A blood-red fist radiance pierced through the void and headed towards Lu Ming. Blood seal. Lu Ming frowned. The figure was the previous top genius of Cold Blood Hall, Xue Feng. He did not expect to see him here. Lu Ming threw a backhanded punch and it collided with Xue Feng's fist radiance. His body trembled and he retreated continuously. Xue Feng was extremely powerful. He had a 7th level divine level bloodline and a cultivation base of the 4th level of the spiritual god realm. His combat strength was truly terrifying. Xue Feng stepped forward, his aura violent. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he glared at Lu Ming. At this moment, Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian were dumbfounded. Lu Shaoqing? Xue Feng had just called Lu Ming Lu Shaoqing. This dark-skinned young man was actually Lu Shaoqing? After exchanging a blow with the Ji family's brawny man, the two of them retreated far away and did not continue to attack. Xue Feng's arrival had made the situation even more complicated. "Brother Lu, it's you?" Fairy Tan Xiang said. "Fairy, how have you been?" Lu Ming smiled. He remained calm in the face of Xue Feng. "It's really you." Kong Xian was also shocked. At this time Wu Qingkong retreated far away and watched. "This brat has offended Xue Feng. He's really looking for death." Wu Qingkong sneered. "Kill?" Xue Feng roared as he stepped forward and threw a punch. The space was shattered by the blood-red fist radiance. It was extremely terrifying. "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" The third bloodline emerged, and a trace of energy surged into Lu Ming's body. In an instant, Lu Ming's body was filled with a terrifying killing intent, and his hair turned blood-red. Then the third bloodline turned into a combat sword. Lu Ming held it in his hand and slashed. A blood-red sword light flashed and split Xue Feng's fist in half. "Is that his bloodline? That's strange, why is there no chakra?" On the side, Fairy Tan Xiang and the others were shocked. First, he was shocked that Lu Ming had finally unleashed the power of his blood meridian. His combat strength was indeed stronger, and he had not used his full strength earlier. Secondly, they were shocked. Lu Ming's blood meridian did not have a chakra. This was unheard of. "Damn it, this guy shouldn't have a life talisman. I have to find a way to kill him. I'll wait for the opportunity to attack when he fights against Xue Feng." Wu Qingkong kept thinking. Xue Feng was shocked to see Lu Ming break his fist radiance with one sword move. The vital essence in his body circulated crazily, and his aura became more violent. Blood Leopard Divine Fist. Xue Feng's fists were like blood jade as he continuously punched out with a blood-red light. In the process of flying out, he transformed into a blood leopard and pounced at Lu Ming. This was a god-level martial technique that was incomparably powerful. 5 Slaughter Styles. Lu Ming activated the 5 Styles Massacre. His blood-red sword buzzed and a sword ray slashed out, scattering the blood leopards one by one. Slaughter Concept. Xue Feng was shocked. At the same time he was even more determined to get rid of Lu Ming. Lu Ming's talent was too shocking. He was only at the 1st level of the spiritual god realm and could fight with him. The blood vessels appeared above his head. In the next moment he transformed into a blood leopard and pounced at Lu Ming with a roar. Lu Ming was fearless. He held his sword and fought Xue Feng. Lu Ming's combat strength was unparalleled and he was invincible among those of the same level. However, Xue Feng's cultivation was 3 levels higher than Lu Ming's. He was much more powerful. Moreover, he had also comprehended a divine-level martial arts technique and was extremely powerful when he used the blood fusion. Lu Ming exchanged dozens of moves with it and slowly fell into a disadvantage. The difference in cultivation is too big. If I use the bloodline of the 9 dragons or the bloodline of the prison-suppressing steel, and with the power of the 3rd bloodline, I might be able to fight this man. Lu Ming's mind was racing. However, this result had already shocked everyone else present to the point of no return. "I didn't expect Brother Lu's combat power to be so strong. It's amazing." Kong Xian's mouth was agape and tongue-tied. After a while, she managed to squeeze out such a sentence. He was also at the 1st level of the spiritual god realm. However, he realized that if he were to fight with Lu Ming now, he would be killed easily. On the other side, Wu Qingkong's sword was also shaking in fear. If Lu Ming had used such a power just now, he would not have been able to resist at all. He was too strong. That's right. Even the 5 magnates who are at the same level as him, might not be as strong as him. Fairy Tan Xiang sighed. Seal. In the middle of the battle, Lu Ming cast the 9 seals of the divine gate, forming a door of light. The light shone brightly and suppressed Xue Feng. For a moment, Xue Feng was actually frozen in place. Kill? Lu Ming stepped forward and slashed at the blood leopard's head. Roar! The blood leopard roared angrily and a blood-red light exploded. With a bang, the light door was shattered at the critical moment. It continued to retreat, but it was still a step too slow. A piece of its scalp was cut off. Then Lu Ming lifted his leg and kicked the blood leopard's stomach, sending it flying. What a pity! Lu Ming secretly felt that it was a pity. His cultivation was still not strong enough. The sealed door he had formed had been broken by Xue Feng's violent essential core. If Lu Ming's cultivation was stronger or he had cultivated 2 sealed doors, it would not be so easy to break Xue Feng's seal. The sealing door was not omnipotent. If one's cultivation level was too high, Lu Ming would naturally not be able to seal it. Even so, Xue Feng's body was already cold. He looked at Lu Ming with fear in his eyes. He was almost killed by Lu Ming just now. What kind of secret technique is this? It's so terrifying. He was so shocked that he did not dare to step forward and fight Lu Ming. Kill? This time, it was Lu Ming's turn to take the initiative to kill. He stepped forward and charged at Xue Ban. Buzz. Another sealing door appeared. Xue Feng was frightened and quickly retreated, not daring to let the sealing door touch him. Chapter 1077. 1077 An existence that surpasses the Emperor. The door of seals glowed and flew towards Xue Feng like a ray of light. The light from the door of seals also had a sealing effect, and Xue Feng had no way of escaping. His body was enveloped by the light of the gate of sealing, and he could not help but freeze. Buzz. Lu Ming's body was like a flickering light and a fleeting shadow as he rushed towards Xue Feng. The blood leopard that blood seal had transformed into roared in anger. Blood light gushed out like a volcanic eruption and attacked the sealing door. This time Lu Ming was even faster. The blood sword pierced through the air and pierced through the blood leopard's body in an instant. Roar! The blood leopard let out a deafening roar and destroyed the gate of seal. It clawed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression changed. In a hurry, he struck out with his palm, clashing with the blood leopard's claw. With a loud boom, Lu Ming's body was sent flying thousands of meters away. His qi and blood churned and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood-sealed true essence was too strong. The moment Lu Ming stabbed him, it broke through the sealing door and launched a counterattack. However, the blood leopard that Xie Feng had transformed into was stabbed by Lu Ming's sword. It was definitely not in a good state. At this moment, he shouted angrily and did not dare to continue fighting. Instead he turned around and ran. Lu Ming did not pursue him. With his current cultivation level and the 9 seals of the divine gate, he could indeed injure Xue Feng by catching him off guard. However, it was almost impossible to kill him. If Xue Feng risked his life, Lu Ming would not have it easy. In the blink of an eye, Xue Feng had disappeared. As for Wu Qingkong, he had already sneaked away before Xue Feng escaped. As for the dragon carp, he did not dare to take it. If he continued to stay, he would definitely be killed by Lu Ming. On the other side, the middle-aged man of the Ji family's expression changed, but in the end he sighed and turned to leave. His combat ability was only on par with Wu Qingkong. He would be courting death if he stayed. In an instant, only Lu Ming, Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xan were left in the sky above the lake. Brother Lu, why did you change your appearance? Even your aura has changed. It's making us suffer. Fairy Tan Xiang said with a smile. There are some people I just don't want to see. Fairy, please forgive me. Lu Ming smiled. Lu Ming then looked at the 3 dragon carps in the lake and said, Do the 2 of you need dragon carps too? This time it's all thanks to Brother Lu. Otherwise, when Xue Feng arrived, Brother Kong and I would not have gotten anything. These 3 dragon carps naturally belong to Brother Lu. Fairy Tan Xiang said. You're too kind, Fairy. I only need 2. You can take the other one. Lu Ming smiled and landed on the surface of the lake. He cast the 9 seals of the Gate of God and a sealing door appeared. The 3 dragon carps were instantly immobilized. Then, his vital essence condensed into a huge hand and scooped the 3 dragon carps up. With a wave of his hand, 2 of the dragon carps disappeared and were kept by Lu Ming into a small lake in the mountain and river diagram. To refine the nirvana elixir, only the true blood of the dragon carp was needed. They did not have to kill the dragon carp, so 2 dragon carps were enough. More would not be of much use. There was no harm in giving the other one to Fairy Tan Xiang. Many thanks, Brother Lu. Fairy Tan Xiang revealed a look of joy. She was an alchemist, and this dragon carp was indeed of great use to her. After putting it away, Fairy Tan Xiang was about to say something when her expression suddenly froze. She revealed a look of surprise and widened her eyes as she looked ahead. Beside him, Kong Xian was the same. She seemed to have seen something extremely shocking. Lu Ming was a little surprised. He turned around and the next moment his eyes widened. In front of them, at an unknown distance away, there was a grand palace that appeared from the void. Clouds and mist lingered around it, making it look like a celestial palace. It was extremely huge, but it was filled with the vicissitudes of life, as if it had transcended countless years. It seemed both real and illusionary. From a distance it didn't look real, like an illusion. What palace is this? It clearly wasn't there just now. Lu Ming was shocked. There was nothing there just now. Why did an ancient palace suddenly appear? The Holy Mansion, it's the Holy Mansion. Kong Xian muttered to himself, his eyes filled with excitement. Holy Mansion. Fairy Tan Xiang and Lu Ming were both very surprised. This secret realm was called the Saint Mansion Secret Realm, but Lu Ming had never known what it meant. He did not expect that there was really a Saint Mansion. Yes, according to the ancient records of our Qianxia Academy, there is a Saint Mansion in this secret realm. There is a supreme existence in it, and it is said that he has surpassed the Emperor. Kong Xian said word by word. Her eyes were filled with excitement as if she was a saint. An existence that surpasses the Emperor level. Lu Ming and Tan Xiang gasped in shock. In the divine wilderness continent, emperors were the strongest. In the eyes of all cultivators, an emperor was already a supreme existence. Their combat power was all over the world. With one palm they could split the sky and crack the earth. They could penetrate the earth and pierce through the sky. It was terrifying beyond compare. The ultimate goal of all cultivators was to become an emperor and dominate the world. But now, there was actually a figure who was above emperor here? How could it not be shocking? Is this true or false? Lu Ming asked. Kong Xian shook her head and said, I don't know, but that's what the ancient books said. And the ancient books said that the Saint Mansion rarely appeared. Even when the emperors could enter this place freely, no one had ever seen it. It had always been a legend. Now it has really appeared. It's incredible. Kong Xian sighed repeatedly and was very excited. Then she revealed many secrets. It was said that there was an existence beyond the emperor level living in this Saint Mansion. If someone obtained the token of the Saint Mansion, they could enter the Saint Mansion with it and obtain great opportunities. They could even have the chance to obtain the inheritance of that existence. The token of the Saint Mansion was in the secret realm. It said that the Saint Mansion's secret realm has existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Even those who have surpassed the Emperor realm can't live for hundreds of thousands of years, right? Fairy Tan Xiang asked with some doubts. The higher one's cultivation was, the longer one's lifespan would be. It was already very heaven-defying for an emperor to live for 10,000 to 20,000 years. It was equivalent to 100 lives for mortals. They could sit and watch the world change just like a living historical record. As for existences that surpassed emperors, no matter how powerful they were, they couldn't possibly live for hundreds of thousands of years. That was too shocking and unbelievable. Unless it was a god in the legends. It was said that gods could exist together with heaven and earth and would never be destroyed, but that was only a legend. I'm not too sure about this. Kong Xian shook her head. Even so, their eyes were filled with flames. An existence that had surpassed the Emperor realm. This was too shocking. Once one reached that realm, they would definitely be able to see through the heavens and earth. It was unimaginable. If it was true, they would be able to obtain something that would benefit them endlessly. Roar. Right at this moment, a series of long howls resounded through the earth. It was extremely shocking. Oh. The three of them saw a huge Silavira wolf appear on a mountain in the distance. It howled at the sky and its aura was shocking like a tsunami. With one step the mountain collapsed. The Silavira wolf broke through the sky and flew in the direction of the Saint Mansion. Boom, boom, boom. In the sky, a mountain was moving. At a closer look, it was a giant snake. It slithered across the sky and headed for the Saint Mansion. Bang. The earth rumbled and trembled. A few people saw a giant ape as tall as a mountain not far away. It stomped on the ground, cracking the earth and shaking the mountains. In front of the giant ape, a martial artist could not dodge in time and was slapped to death by the giant ape. Chapter 1078. 1078 The Token of the Saint Mansion. The land seemed to be boiling. Powerful ferocious beasts flew in the direction of the Saint Mansion. Along the way they would kill any human warriors they saw. There were even powerful beasts killing each other. Gah! With a sharp cry, the sky darkened and a terrifying pressure suddenly pressed down. Not good, let's go. Lu Ming's expression changed and he rushed to the side. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian's expressions changed drastically as well. They followed Lu Ming and charged to the side. A strong wind blew, and a giant eagle flew over the three people's heads. Its eyes were as sharp as swords, and it swept a glance at the three people. With a flap of its wings, a terrifying tornado formed, rolling towards the three people. Wherever the tornado passed, not to mention the trees, even the huge mountains were pulled up and rolled in. The scene was terrifying. The three of them ran forward at top speed to avoid the tornado. After the giant eagle conjured a tornado, it ignored Lu Ming and the rest and quickly left. The three of them didn't dare to take it head-on and used their movement techniques to avoid it. They flew for a few thousand miles before the tornado weakened and disappeared into the air. The three of them let out a long breath. That giant eagle was definitely a ferocious beast above the 7th level of the spiritual god realm. It was too powerful and they were far from it. It seems like the birth of the Saint Mansion has alarmed all the powerful beasts in the secret realm. Kong Xian said. What are your plans next? Lu Ming asked. Let's meet up with the other brothers and see if we can take a gamble. With the appearance of the Saint Mansion, if we can obtain even a little bit of luck, it will be extremely beneficial. Kong Xian's eyes were burning with passion. Fairy Tan Xiang also nodded. A group of people from the Valley of the Medicine Masters had also entered, and she was also looking for people from the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Fairy, how about our two families join forces? The Valley of the Medicine Masters is good at the Tao of Inscription, and the Qianxia Academy also has its own Tao of Inscription and martial arts. Only by cooperating with each other can they bring out the best in each other. Kong Xian said. Alright, it's decided then. Brother Lu, are you coming with us? Fairy Tan Xiang looked at Lu Ming. No, I still have other matters to attend to. I'll take my leave now. Lu Ming shook his head and bade farewell to the two of them, leaving. The two of them felt that it was a pity. If Lu Ming had joined them, they would undoubtedly be more confident. Then the two of them left the place. The emergence of the Saint Mansion had stirred up everyone in the secret realm. Everyone in the world's academies knew some secrets. The rumors about those above the emperor level had also spread. All the experts who entered the secret realm were extremely excited. The experts of all major forces gathered and headed in the direction of the Saint Mansion. As Lu Ming flew, he soon saw a few corpses of ferocious beasts that had been killed by those powerful beasts. Lu Ming landed and his devouring power burst forth, devouring the blood essence and demonic energy of the beasts. He had left Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian with this thought. Just now, the powerful beasts in the secret realm went on a rampage and killed many martial artists and weaker beasts. Lu Ming did not want to waste them. He devoured them to break through to the next realm. Along the way, Lu Ming devoured every human warrior and beast he saw killed. Among them, there were many existences at the spiritual god level. The amount of energy that Lu Ming devoured grew larger and larger. After a full day, Lu Ming had devoured the energy of more than 100 human warriors and beasts. Then he found a hidden place and entered the mountain and river diagram to begin refining. The energy of the blood essence was all used to improve the bloodline of the 9 dragons. The rest of the energy was converted into true essence. Lu Ming started to break through to the 2nd level of the spiritual god realm. His current intent realm of heaven and earth was completely ahead of his cultivation. As long as he had energy, he could break through to the next realm. Boom. Boom. The boundless true essence gathered into the spiritual god, making it more solid. The spirit god sat cross-legged in his dantian. His entire body was shining and he looked solemn. After half a day there was a loud boom and Lu Ming's aura grew. 2nd level of the spiritual god realm. Lu Ming had finally broken through to the 2nd level of the spiritual god realm. His strength had greatly improved. If he were to encounter Xue Feng now, Lu Ming was confident that he could kill him without the 9 seals of the divine gate. Lu Ming stood up and stepped out, appearing outside the mountain and river diagram. Now we can fight for the Saint Mansion. Lu Ming revealed a confident look. If it had been before he had broken through to the second level of the spiritual god realm, Lu Ming might not have been able to obtain any benefits even if he had gone. Many of the previous generation's geniuses from the Overlord forces had entered. It was likely that every Overlord force had an expert like Xue Feng. There might even be someone stronger. Moreover, these forces had a large number of manpower. If Lu Ming was at the first level of the spiritual god realm, he might not be a match for him even if he went. Moreover, there was still Yang Padian. The battle power of the top 5 young warriors was absolutely shocking and couldn't be underestimated. But now, Lu Ming was confident that even if he could not suppress the crowd, he would not have a problem getting a share of the loot. Using the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps, Lu Ming turned into a stream of light and sped away. Soon, Lu Ming had flown hundreds of thousands of miles. So far, where is the Saint Mansion? Lu Ming was speechless. He had flown for hundreds of thousands of miles, but he felt that the distance to the Saint Mansion was not close at all. It was still so far away that he could only see it but not reach it. Lu Ming continued to fly for millions of miles. Unfortunately, he still did not feel that he was close to the Holy Mansion. The Saint Mansion was suspended in the air, like a celestial palace. Boom. All of a sudden the area in front of them was in an uproar. There were experts fighting and it was extremely intense. The distant sky was covered by an endless light. All kinds of colors were flashing, and terrifying attacks were constantly colliding. Lu Ming was slightly shocked. He concealed his aura and flew over. Fairy Brother Kong. Below, a few figures looked up. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xan were among them. Lu Ming flew over to greet them. Brother Lu. The two of them smiled when they saw Lu Ming. What's going on? Lu Ming asked. They're fighting for the Saint Mansion token. Fairy Tan Xiang said. What? The token of the Holy Mansion has appeared? Lu Ming was shocked. He didn't expect that the battle in the sky was over the token of the Saint Mansion. High up in the sky, the light was so bright that no one could see the faces of the people inside. They could only see 7 or 8 figures fighting fiercely. They were all powerful and terrifying existences. Even geniuses like Goddess Tan Xiang and Kong Xian could only watch from below. There were quite a number of people watching from below. Lu Ming saw Yin Bupo from the Sky Eagle Castle and a few other experts from the Sky Eagle Castle. In addition, on the Demon Mountain, the Ji family's people were also there. Everyone stared at the sky, watching the progress of the battle. Bang! Suddenly, a huge figure was shot down and fell heavily to the ground. It was a lightning eagle, its body covered in lightning, but it was no longer breathing. It was already dead. Senior brother. Yin Bupo and the others roared in shock and anger. It was obvious that this lightning eagle was an expert from the previous generation of the Sky Eagle Castle. Buzz. At this moment, another figure rushed down. It was a man in white who looked to be in his 30s. He was not dead, but he was injured. His white robe was stained with blood. Chapter 1079. 1079 The battle between the geniuses of the big shots. Senior brother Luo. Kong Xian's expression changed and she stepped forward. Obviously this person was an expert from the Tianxia Academy. I'm not their match. I don't need the Holy Mansion token. Senior brother Luo sighed. Kong Xian and Fairy Tan Xiang were secretly shocked. They knew that senior brother Luo was the #1 genius of the previous generation of Tianxia Academy. He had awakened a 7th level divine level bloodline and reached the 4th level of the spiritual god realm. He was not weaker than Xue Feng, but he was still no match for him. Those people who fought in the sky were really powerful. The number of people had decreased, but the battle had become even more intense. The terrifying tremors spread out for thousands of miles, and the void was as fragile as paper. Bang! Bang! Following that, more and more people were sent flying out of the battlefield. 4 people retreated from the battlefield one after another. They were severely injured and stood in the air, looking at the battlefield with fear in their eyes. Lu Ming could see that there were only 2 figures left in the sky, fighting fiercely. Clang! Clang! The sound of collisions rang out continuously, as if 2 gods were fighting. Selah. Space split open and the light receded. 2 figures appeared before everyone's eyes. Both of them were tall and burly, and their auras were wild. One of them was holding a heavenly halberd. His black hair was loose and his aura was extremely shocking. He was just standing there, but the space around him was like water ripples, constantly twisting and forming circles of ripples. Yang Padian. This man was Yang Padian, one of the 5 young tyrants. The other man was standing in front of Yang Padian. His body was even more burly than Yang Potion's. He had 2 muscular arms and was holding a huge wolf-tooth club. This person looked very young, definitely not more than 30 years old. He was of the same generation as Lu Ming and the others. A Heaven's Pride expert of the younger generation was actually able to fight against Yang Padian. Who was this man? This person is from Northern Plains. He is known as the #1 genius of Northern Plains. I heard that he had a conflict with Yang Padian outside. Kong Xian explained in a low voice. Lu Ming was enlightened, so it was a paragon of Northern Plains. He had heard before that a paragon of Northern Plains had fought with Yang Padian, and neither of them won. A purple gold token floated between the 2 of them, emitting a hazy glow. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. This must be the Holy Mansion token. Tuoba sure, let's decide the winner today. Yang Padian held the heavenly halberd in his hand. With a slight movement he cut open a crack in the space. His aura was wild, his hair was flying and his eyes were like lightning. Just what I wanted. Tuoba sure grinned and swung his mace, creating a loud rumbling sound. The Saint Mansion token was sent flying into the air by the powerful Qi. Whoosh, whoosh. At the same time the 2 of them moved. They charged at each other and began a great battle. Yang Padian had also comprehended the space mentality, and his use of it was even more terrifying than the Emperor God's. At the same time, with the help of other mentalities, his heavenly halberd seemed to be able to cut through the void. The power of space surrounded it and its power was terrifying. Tuoba Shure's muscles bulged like an invincible warrior as he brandished his mace, crushing everything in his path. He collided with the heavenly halberd, creating a terrifying boom. The 2 of them fought intensely and attacked continuously. In the blink of an eye, dozens of moves had passed. The others looked around with amazement in their eyes. Is this the strength of the 5 magnates? It is indeed powerful. Lu Ming sighed. At the same time, there was a strong desire to fight in his eyes. They're too strong. They haven't even used their bloodline fusion and they're already so strong. I'm still far from them. Kong Xian sighed. Could it be that their bloodlines have surpassed level 8 divine level? Lu Ming asked. That's right. The bloodlines of the 5 great leaders of the central continent are all at the 9th level of the divine level. Fairy Tan Xiang said. He's actually a level 9 divine level expert. Lu Ming was also somewhat amazed. The 9th level of the divine level was the highest level of bloodline. Every single one of these people was extremely terrifying. Bloodline. The higher the level, the greater the difference in talent or bloodline. A 7th level divine level expert was much stronger than a 6th level divine level expert. However, a level 8 divine level expert was much stronger than a level 7 divine level expert, regardless of whether it was in terms of talent or the bonuses brought about by his bloodline. As for the 9th level of the divine level, it was even more terrifying. That was because the 9th level of the divine level represented the peak in perfection. It was not something that the 8th level of the divine level could compare to. The difference was too great. If a level 8 divine level expert had the potential to become an emperor, then a level 9 divine level expert would definitely be able to break through to the emperor level as long as they didn't die. In the history of the divine wilderness continent, anyone who had awakened a divine level 9th grade bloodline, as long as they did not die, would break through to the throne. Central Continent's 5 giants were equivalent to a future emperor. No wonder Yang Padian was so arrogant. He always acted as if he was above everyone else. He was destined to become an emperor. Apart from those of the same level, everyone else was just like an ant in his eyes. Perhaps, deep in his heart, he didn't even care about the supreme martial artists. Clang, clang. The battle continued and it became more and more intense. The 2 of them were really angry for the Saint Mansion token. Both of them were determined to get the Holy Mansion token. In the blink of an eye, the 2 had exchanged more than 100 moves. The purple gold token of the Saint Mansion rolled around in their chi. Gotcha. Suddenly, the token of the Saint Mansion made a crisp sound, and then shattered into pieces in front of everyone's dumbfounded eyes. The token of the Holy Mansion was broken. Everyone was stunned, even Yang Padian and Tuoba Sure were stunned. They stopped their battle and looked at each other. No one had expected that the token of the Saint Mansion would break. Wasn't this the token to enter the Saint Mansion? The master of the Holy Mansion was an existence that surpassed emperors. How could the token he made be so easy to break? Impossible. The Holy Mansion's token is sturdy and immortal. It can't be broken. This is fake. This is a fake token. Kong Xian shouted. A fake token. Everyone looked at each other. I know, someone threw out a fake token wanting to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight and come to reap the benefits. Someone guessed. Everyone's eyes flickered. They felt that it was highly possible that someone wanted to fish in troubled waters. Fairy Brother Kong, how did the token appear? Lu Ming asked. I heard that before this, someone shouted that they had found the token, which caused many people to fight for it. Later on, more and more people joined in, and in the end, Yang Padian and Tuobashir were also attracted here. Kong Xian explained. So, no one saw where the token appeared from? Lu Ming asked. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian shook their heads. Before, everyone had fought for the token like crazy when they saw it. No one would have thought that it was fake. Lu Ming nodded. It seemed that someone was really taking advantage of the situation. Damn it, which bastard did this? If I find out, I'll make him wish he was dead. The Sky Eagle Castle's In Bupo roared angrily. Because of this, the Sky Eagle Castle lost the top master and suffered a great loss. The other people also revealed a fierce look. This person who took advantage of the situation was really too hateful. Chapter 1080. 1080 Chapter 1080 Troublemaker. Yang Padian and Tuobashir's eyes were also filled with murderous intent. Someone actually dared to play with them, they really deserved to die. The two of them swept their gazes across the crowd, their killing intent incomparably dense, causing one's body to shiver. In the end, they did not find anyone suspicious. Yang Padian coldly snorted before stepping into the air and leaving. Tuobashir grinned and left as well. Since the token was fake, there was no need for them to continue fighting. After that, the people from the other forces also left. Lu Ming did not leave. He fixed his eyes on a person. It was a slightly chubby young man who looked very simple and honest. However, his eyes were darting around, giving Lu Ming a familiar feeling. Fairy Brother Kong, follow me. Lu Ming said in a low voice. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian were stunned for a moment. Then they nodded and followed Lu Ming in a certain direction. In front of him, the plain young man was walking slowly among the mountains. His steps did not seem fast, but his speed was extremely fast. The three of them concealed their auras and followed the young man in the forest. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian were curious. They did not know why Lu Ming wanted to follow this young man. Could it be that Lu Ming had noticed something? After traveling for 10,000 miles, the young man in front of him stopped. He looked around and with a flash of light, his appearance changed completely. He turned into a monk. An unscrupulous monk. Lu Ming could tell at one glance that this monk was the unscrupulous monk he had met previously. The holy monk of the Western Desert. The three of them hid behind a rock and concealed their auras as much as possible. Kong Xian transmitted her voice to the other two. He could only transmit his voice because the distance was too close. If he spoke, no matter how soft his voice was, the unscrupulous monk would still be able to hear him. AI. At this time, the monk sighed and reached into his pocket. He took out a purple gold token. The three of them were dumbfounded. Wasn't this the token of the Saint Mansion? It was exactly the same as the previous one. My hair is white, my Buddha is merciful. It's a pity that only a few experts died this time. Yang Padian and Tuobashir were not injured. I was thinking that both of them would suffer great losses. The monk mumbled softly, but Lu Ming and the other two heard him clearly. The three of them looked at each other, especially Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian, whose eyes almost popped out of their sockets. It was actually this guy. It was this guy who threw out the fake Saint Mansion token and started the war. Weren't Western Desert's saint monks supposed to be merciful and save all sentient beings? But how could this guy do such a thing? Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian were really in a daze. Lu Ming was better off as he was mentally prepared. He had seen how unscrupulous this monk was previously. Looks like I'll have to do it again. The heartless monk muttered and revealed a harmless smile. He waved his sleeves and strode away. Lu Ming and the other two stared at each other. In the end, they did not continue to follow them. They returned to the place where the battle had taken place and gathered with the people from the Tianxia Academy and the Valley of Medicine Masters. Brother Kong, why haven't we been able to get close to the Holy Mansion? I've flown for millions of miles, but it still seems extremely far away. Lu Ming had some doubts. The Saint Mansion should be several million li ahead, but because it hasn't fully manifested yet, it looks extremely far away and can't be approached. In fact, we've been approaching it all this time. Kong Xian explained. The Qianxia Academy knew the most about the secret realm of the Saint Mansion. Lu Ming nodded. He flew in the direction of the Saint Mansion with the rest. Hundreds of thousands of miles later. There's a Holy Mansion token up ahead. What? The Holy Mansion's token is mine. Let's go. They heard loud shouts as figures tore through the void and flew in one direction. That monk is stirring things up again. Kong Xian gritted her teeth. Let's go and take a look, but don't make a move. Fairy Tan Xiang said. Everyone flew over. Sure enough, a terrifying battle had taken place in a place and corpses kept falling. They saw a chubby young man in the forest below. His eyes were rolling. It was the transformation of the unscrupulous monk. At this moment, the monk was running around and picking up the storage rings of the dead. Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xian's eyelids twitched. Is he really a saint monk from the western desert? It can't be fake, right? Fairy Tan Xiang's eyes widened in disbelief. This had completely shattered her understanding of Western Desert's saint monk. It should be true. I fought with him before and I used a Buddhist technique. Lu Ming said. This unscrupulous monk was unfathomable. He was young but his combat strength was extremely terrifying. After that, Lu Ming and the others left the place because the token of the Saint Mansion must be fake. It must be that unscrupulous monk who was stirring up trouble. The group flew for millions of miles. In front of them, a huge mountain peak appeared. The mountain peak was bare without any vegetation, only rocks. At this time, the entire mountain peak was covered with inscriptions that were shining brightly. High up in the sky, the wind and clouds gathered, and the huge palace was faintly discernible. It seemed to be in the sky, but it had not fully manifested. There were thousands of figures standing far away from the mountain peak. They were all experts from the major forces. Roar. Terrifying roars were heard. On the mountain peak, dozens of powerful beasts were fighting fiercely, and blood chi filled the sky. Lu Ming and the rest looked from afar and were extremely shocked. In the secret realm, those powerful existences were coming here, but they were fighting each other on the mountain peak. Why was that? The roars continued and the battle was extremely fierce. Those who could make it here were all at the 7th level of the spiritual god realm and above. They were killing each other. Oh. A wolf's howl was incomparably mournful. Lu Ming saw a huge Selavira wolf over 100 meters tall. However, its heart was grabbed by a huge eagle and it fell on the mountain peak. Its blood seeped into the mountain peak, making it shine even more brightly. Gah! The giant eagle was not in a good state either. Its wings were grabbed by a giant ape and torn off with a tearing sound. Then its stomach was cut open by a giant centipede. They were all giant beasts in an intense battle. Giant beasts fell and were torn apart one after another. A huge snake the size of a mountain was cut into pieces by a huge mantis. However, the mantis's head was also bitten off by the huge snake before it died. Buzz. Whoosh. There were more and more people, but all of them stopped far away from the mountain peak and looked at this scene in shock. Half a day later, all the giant beasts had fallen on the mountain peak. Their blood had seeped into the mountain peak, as if they had become nourishment for the mountain. In the sky, the ancient palace rumbled as wind and clouds gathered, as if it would appear at any moment. At this moment, everyone finally dared to approach the mountain. At a glance, Lu Ming saw more than 5,000 people. Lu Ming saw Yang Padian, Tuoba Shi, and the Divine Emperor. Junior brother Wu, is he the person you were talking about? Suddenly, a cold voice was heard and a murderous gaze was fixed on Lu Ming. Lu Ming turned around and frowned. A group of young and middle-aged men with swords on their backs stood not far away. Some of them were looking at Lu Ming with cold eyes. Wu Qingkong. Lu Ming saw Wu Qingkong inside. Chapter 1081. 1081 Chapter 1081 Fighting the Top 3. These were the experts of the Heavenly Sword faction. Senior brother, that's him. His name is Lu Shaoqing. Wu Qingkong said to a man in his 40s. The man in his prime stepped forward, his eyes cold as he stared at Lu Ming. Lu Shaoqing, how dare you touch someone from the gifted sword sect? I don't think you'll be able to live in this world. The brawny man's aura was overbearing, and his body revealed a powerful aura. The other people on the field heard the commotion and looked over. Lu Shaoqing? Among them Jing Kongling Junyue and Yin Bupo were a little surprised. They had all seen Lu Ming before and were slightly surprised when they looked at him. Isn't that the trash with 5 combat skills? That's right, it's him. Did he offend the Heavenly Martial Sword School? He's really courting death. Why do I feel like Wu Qingkong lost to him? Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked the masters of the previous generation to come out and fight him himself. It's true, no way? Is that trash that powerful? Many people recognized Lu Ming. They were in a heated discussion and had all sorts of guesses. Lu Ming cast a casual glance at the middle-aged man and shifted his gaze to Wu Qingkong. Wu Qingkong, I let you go last time. It seems that you have not learned your lesson. I will send you on your way. Everyone was shocked. Could it be that Wu Qingkong had really suffered a loss at the hands of Lu Ming? Lu Shaoqing, don't be so arrogant. You're the one who's going to die today. Wu Qingkong's face was cold. He wished he could cut Lu Ming into 8 pieces. Buzz, buzz. The sound of a sword rang out. The disciples of the Sky Martial Sword School all emitted a strong sword chi. Their eyes were like swords as they stared at Lu Ming. Buzz. Another burly man stepped out and stood with the previous man. His aura was shocking. So there are 2 experts in the 4th level of the spiritual god realm. Lu Ming's lips curled into a faint smile. There were 2 experts in the 4th level of the spiritual god realm in the Jianghu sword faction. Judging from their auras, they were not weaker than Xue Feng and should be in the same realm as him. Oh no, it's them. Brother Lu, these 2 are the 2 strongest heaven's favorites from the previous generation of the Heavenly Martial Sword faction. They have both awakened 7th level divine level bloodlines. Fairy Tan Xiang said worriedly. Heavenly Martial Sword faction, don't go too far. If you want to kill Brother Lu, you have to go through our Tianxia Academy first. Kong Xen stepped forward and stared at the people from the Heavenly Martial Sword School. They had seen Lu Ming's attacks before and they were indeed powerful. He could injure Xue Feng and force him to retreat in a sorry state. But now there were 2 experts like Xue Feng in the Sky Martial Sword faction. When Lu Ming fought Xue Feng, he had a hard time. He would definitely be no match for 2 of them. Tianxia Academy, if you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. A 4th level spiritual god realm middle-aged man from the Jianghu sword faction said coldly and domineeringly. What big words. From Tianxia Academy, a man in his 30s stepped out with an explosive aura. This was the strongest person from the Tianxia Academy who had entered this time. He was also the number 1 genius of the previous generation and was at the same level as Xue Feng. It had to be said that the geniuses of the previous generation were far inferior to those of the current generation. Those who had awakened to the 7th level of the divine level could be considered the number 1 geniuses of their respective factions. He couldn't be compared to this generation's heaven's favorites. The difference was too big. It was as if all the transportation had been added to this generation, allowing this generation to enter a golden age. Haha, my 2 martial brothers, how about you count me in to kill Lu Shaoqing? With a sneer, a middle-aged man in a blood-red robe stepped through the air. It was Xue Feng. When he was injured by Lu Ming, he had been waiting for an opportunity to take revenge. Now that he saw Lu Ming going up against the people from the Heaven Martial Sword faction, how could he miss this great opportunity? Xue Feng, you've come at the right time. Let's join forces and kill this person. A young man from the Heavenly Martial Sword sect said. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on them. This Lu Shaoqing had offended so many people. It seemed that he would die today. At this moment, Fairy Tan Xiang, Kong Xan, and the white-robed man from Tianxia Academy all had ugly expressions. If it was only the Heavenly Martial Sword faction, they might still be able to fight. But with Xue Feng it would be difficult. You're all here. Just in time. Let's settle this today. Lu Ming smiled faintly and took a step forward, causing everyone to be stunned. What did he just say? In the face of such a situation, he actually said that he wanted to Solavir it all at once. Was he crazy? Fairy Tan Xiang and the others were also stunned. Brother Lu. Fairy Tan Xiang called out. Fairy Brother Kong, just leave this place to me. Lu Ming smiled at Fairy Tan Xiang and the others, then stepped forward and faced Xue Feng and the others. Brother Wu, this kid has a secret technique that is very evil. It can seal one's movements. Let's work together to kill him. Xue Feng whispered to the two experts from the Heavenly Martial Sword faction. All right. The two experts from the Sky Martial Sword faction nodded. They had heard from Wu Qingkong about the battle between Lu Ming and Xue Feng. They knew that Lu Ming was extraordinary and that he had a strong front. They did not dare to be careless. Boom, boom, boom. The two powerhouses from the Sky Martial Sword faction, Xue Feng, and the other two, all released their powerful auras at the same time. Their shocking auras soared into the sky and pressed down on Lu Ming. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The three of them moved and surrounded Lu Ming. The three of them are joining forces to deal with Lu Shaoqing. How could this be? Could it be that Lu Shaoqing's true combat strength is extremely powerful? Otherwise, why would Xue Feng and the others take him so seriously and need three people to work together? The crowd wasn't fools. They knew that something was amiss when they saw the reactions of Xue Feng and the other two. They were shocked by this guess. Other than the top 5 young geniuses, who else was worthy of Xue Feng and the others' attention? Brat, weren't you very arrogant? Let's see how you'll die. Xue Feng's eyes were cold. In the next moment he activated his blood meridian and used blood meridian fusion to pounce on Lu Ming. Kill? Dot. Lu Ming bellowed as his third bloodline emerged. A wisp of energy surged into his body, turning his hair blood red, and his killing intent surged out like a tidal wave. At the same time, the 7 streams of dragon energy burst forth at the same time, increasing Lu Ming's strength to a terrifying level. The third bloodline turned into a blood-red sword in Lu Ming's hand. He swung the sword, and a blood-red sword light cut through the void, illuminating the sky and slashing at Xue Feng. This strength. At this moment, Xue Feng's eyes suddenly widened as he was terrified. This power was too shocking. It was much stronger than the last time he fought with Lu Ming, much stronger. Not good. Xue Feng's body turned cold as he tried his best to resist. But dash. With a sound, the sword light cut through and the blood leopard that Xue Feng had transformed into had one of its claws cut off and flew far away. Xue Feng roared and quickly retreated. At this moment, the two experts from the Sky Martial Sword faction had also arrived. 2 vast sword gleams as large as mountains were slashing toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming swung his sword in reverse and destroyed the 2 sword gleams. He did not stop and rushed toward Xue Feng. Xue Feng was terrified and quickly retreated. You can't leave. Lu Ming sneered. He formed a hand seal and a door of light appeared. Chapter 1082. 1082 Killing 3 Great Experts. The 9 seals of the Gate of God appeared. It shone with light and pressed down on Xue Feng. Enveloped by the light of the Gate of Sealing, Blood Seal was frozen in the air. He tried his best to burst out his true essence in an attempt to break the door seal. However, Lu Ming's cultivation had now advanced to the 2nd level of the spiritual god realm. The door seal that he had condensed was even more powerful. For a moment, the blood seal could not be broken at all. No, no. He was extremely anxious and kept growling. Buzz. Lu Ming rushed over and the sword light slashed down. With a bang, the blood leopard was cut in half. Xue Feng's true body appeared, spitting out a large mouthful of blood and a deep wound on his chest. He wanted to retreat, but the sealing door was still there. He could not even retreat. No, no, spare my life. No. Xue Feng shouted in fear, but what greeted him was a sword light. Puchi. Xue Feng was split in half, and even the spiritual god in his body couldn't escape. All of this happened in the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint. It happened so fast that many people didn't even have time to react. It was already too late for the 2 experts of the Sky Martial Sword faction to rescue him. Why would I? The 2 experts from the Heavenly Martial Sword faction were about to launch a fierce attack on Lu Ming. When they saw this scene, their pupils constricted and they subconsciously stopped in their tracks. CSI. Gasps could be heard all around. Xue Feng was dead. He was killed by Lu Ming in 2 moves. He could not put up any resistance at all. How was this possible? Xue Feng had awakened a 7th level divine level bloodline and his cultivation had already reached the 4th level of the spiritual god realm. His combat strength was absolutely terrifying, but he was easily killed by Lu Ming. It was unbelievable. Fairy Tan Xiang, Kong Xan, and the people from Medicine King's Valley and Qianxia Academy were also dumbfounded. They were completely stunned and couldn't believe this scene. Wu Qingkong was tongue-tied and almost scared to death. It had only been a few days. A few days ago, Lu Ming could only fight to a draw with Xue Feng. With the help of the sealing door, he barely had the upper hand. But now he had completely crushed Xue Feng. It had only been a few days and Lu Ming's combat strength had increased by a huge margin. This was too shocking. Now it's your turn. Lu Ming looked at the two experts from the Heavenly Sword faction. His blood-red hair fluttered in the wind, and his killing intent surged. The expressions of the two experts from the Heavenly Martial Sword School changed drastically, and they no longer had the confidence they had earlier. Brother Lu, in my opinion, this is all a misunderstanding. One of them revealed a smile that was uglier than crying. They were terrified that Lu Ming could kill Xue Feng in such a thunderous way even though he was surrounded by the three of them. Misunderstanding? No, there's no misunderstanding. I'm going to kill you today. I don't need a reason. Lu Ming said indifferently. In the next moment, he took a step forward and rushed toward the two of them like a bloody light. Damn it. Let's attack together and kill this brat. The two of them roared and activated their bloodlines at the same time, turning them into two huge combat swords. Without a doubt, both of them had 7th-level divine-level bloodlines and had comprehended divine-level martial techniques. Their combat strength was extremely terrifying. Buzz, whoosh. The sound of a sword rang out. The other experts of the Heavenly Sword faction all moved. Their combat swords were unsheathed, and their sword chi soared to the sky as they charged towards Lu Ming. Seal. The blood-red sword floated in his hands and formed a seal. A sealing gate flew out and covered a huge sword. In an instant the huge sword could not move. Kill? Lu Ming wielded his combat sword and sent one of the combat swords flying. At the same time he took a few steps forward and the terrifying power of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps suddenly burst out. Boom, boom, boom. He took 7 steps and landed on the sword that was sealed by the door. The sword immediately collapsed and its body appeared. However, there was a flash of sword light and the head fell to the ground. This person's spiritual god flew out of his body in a panic and was extremely frightened. Bang, bang. Lu Ming's left hand executed the prison-suppressing heaven technique and he struck out continuously. He held the blood sword in his right hand and executed the 5 styles massacre. Clang. The remaining 4th-level spiritual god realm expert's combat sword was sent flying, and the sword's body kept shaking. The blood-red sword slashed out tens of thousands of sword chi. The spiritual god that escaped let out a blood-curdling scream before turning into ashes. At the same time, a few experts from the Heavenly Sword faction who had rushed over were killed by the sword chi. Lu Ming transformed into a god of death and charged towards the last 4th-level spiritual god realm expert. Escape, escape, escape. At this moment, the person was scared out of his wits and was running for his life. Lu Ming was too powerful. In terms of strength alone, Lu Ming had completely surpassed him. Together with the sealing door, they were simply invincible. Where are you going? Lu Ming had his eyes on him. He dashed past him and killed a few more experts from the Heavenly Martial Sword faction. In an instant, Lu Ming closed in at top speed. He formed a seal with both hands and another sealing door appeared. The combat sword was instantly fixed in place. Lu Ming charged forward. No, spare me, help. The man roared, but the result was already decided. Lu Ming caught up and killed him with lightning-like methods. Since then, the 3 experts who wanted to kill Lu Ming were all killed by him. Not a single one was left alive. He even killed a few experts from the Sky Martial Sword School. When the other members of the Heavenly Martial Sword faction saw this, they were extremely frightened. How could they dare to fight? They all fled. So strong. The rest of the people at the scene looked at Lu Ming in shock. They were tongue-tied and completely speechless. Lu Ming's combat strength was too shocking to be able to kill 3 experts in succession. High up in the sky, Yang Patian and Tuoba Shi looked at Lu Ming with grave expressions. Before this, they had not paid attention to anyone else except for each other. However, Lu Ming had now attracted their attention. It seems that we have another opponent. Tuoba Shi licked his lips as his eyes gleamed with battle intent. Yang Potion's eyes flashed, but he didn't say anything. Just when everyone thought that the battle had ended, Lu Ming did not stop because there was still one person who had not died. Wu Qingkong. Wu Qingkong was running for his life, terrified. Damn it. How is this Lu Shaoqing so terrifying? His combat strength is rising too quickly. When we get out of here, I'll have the powerful cultivators in the sect kill him. He can't be allowed to live. All kinds of vengeful thoughts swirled in Wu Qingkong's mind. Suddenly he heard a whooshing sound. He looked back in shock and saw that Lu Ming had already arrived behind him. Boom. Lu Ming could not be bothered to waste his breath on him. He threw a punch and shattered Wu Qingkong into pieces. However, Wu Qingkong obviously had a destiny talisman. With a flash of white light, the destiny talisman wrapped him up and he disappeared in the air. Lu Ming snorted coldly and flew back to his original spot. At that moment, everyone looked at Lu Ming with respect. He was too powerful. Lu Ming's combat strength was far above that of an ordinary second-grade heaven's favorite. His combat strength was already on par with the 5 magnates. It seemed that there would be another young giant in the world. Brother Lu. Fairy Tanxiang's beautiful eyes flickered as she looked at Lu Ming. She was at a loss for words. Oh, I just happened to have a breakthrough in my cultivation when I left 2 days ago. Lu Ming explained. Fairy Tanxiang and Kong Xan roared in their hearts. This was too abnormal. He had broken through after leaving for 2 days. This was too fast. It was really infuriating to compare. Chapter 1083. 1083 The real token of the Saint Mansion. Tianxia Academy, outside the Wanxiang Jade Wall. The space moved and Wu Qingkong appeared in a flash of white light. Ah, damn it. Wu Qingkong roared as soon as he appeared. Everyone's eyes turned to him in unison. Qingkong, what's going on? A supreme martial artist from the Jianghu sword faction looked at Wu Qingkong and asked with a frown. Wu Qingkong had been killed, which meant that the 2 elites of the Jianghu sword faction had both died in the battle. Lu Shaoqing. It's that bastard Lu Shaoqing. Wu Qingkong roared like a wild beast. What? Lu Shaoqing again? Lu Shaoqing is a killer. First, he killed the Cold Blood Hall disciples and many other masters. Then he killed Wu Tsang and now even Wu Qingkong. He, 2 heaven's favorites from the heavenly martial sword faction died at the hands of the same person. Interesting. Cold Blood Hall's face darkened. Why did they have to be invelevered every time Lu Shaoqing was mentioned? Lu Shaoqing again. What? You're not with Wulong and the others? The supreme martial artist from the heavenly martial sword faction asked. The Wulong he was talking about was the #1 heaven's favorite of the previous generation of the heavenly martial sword faction. Wulong and the others have been killed. They're dead. Wu Qingkong said through gritted teeth. What? Wulong and the others were also dead. Who was it? Could it be Yang Padian? The supreme martial artist from the heavenly martial sword school shouted angrily, thinking that it was Yang Padian who had done it. No, it's Lu Shaoqing. It's all his doing. Senior brothers Wu Long, Wu Kai, and Xue Feng were supposed to work together to kill Lu Shaoqing, but they were killed by him instead. It's all his doing. Wu Qingkong's face was twisted as he explained the situation. The scene suddenly became quiet. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. Lu Shaoqing was the one who had done all of this. He had managed to achieve such a feat despite the combined efforts of 3 powerful experts. This was simply too shocking. Another big shot. An old man sighed. The people of Cold Blood Hall wanted to cry. It was so sad that they had sent such a god of death with them. The secret realm of the Saint Mansion. Buzz. At this moment, the giant mountain was shaking and the light was even more dazzling. Everyone's attention was drawn back to the giant mountain. Lu Ming's eyes also fell on the huge mountain. He did not devour the blood essence of Xue Feng and the others because the Emperor God was here. His devouring method was too obvious and he was afraid that the Emperor God would notice something. Now was not the time to reveal his identity. The light from the huge mountain became more and more brilliant. In the end, 9 rays of purple light shot out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, a token flew out from each of the purple lights. The token of the Saint Mansion. It's the token of the Saint Mansion. Snatch it. There are 9 pieces, this one is mine. Instantly the scene was in chaos. All kinds of auras burst out and rushed toward the 9 tokens. There was no doubt that the token that rushed out of the mountain was the real token of the Saint Mansion. Get lost. Yang Padian shouted in anger. His momentum was astonishing. He swept out his halberd, and dozens of experts screamed as they were cut in half and died on the spot. Yang Padian grabbed a token of the Saint Mansion in his hand and scanned the surroundings with lightning-like eyes. Everyone was shocked and didn't dare to step forward. On the other side, Tuobashir waved his mace and smashed a bunch of people into meat paste. He then grabbed a Saint Mansion token. The others sighed. Knowing these 2 tokens, they could forget about it. I'm back in this piece. Lu Ming stepped forward and rushed to the nearest Saint Mansion token. His terrifying killing intent burst out. Many people were enveloped by his killing intent and retreated quickly, not daring to fight with Lu Ming. The power that Lu Ming had created earlier was too strong. Lu Ming grabbed a Holy Mansion token. Yang Padian, Tuoba Shi, and Lu Ming each had a token. The others did not dare to fight with the three of them and could only target the others. This was a bloody battle and it was extremely intense. The experts of the major forces went all out to fight for the tokens. A palace left behind by an existence above the emperor level was too alluring and attractive. Even an emperor would go crazy if he came, let alone them. People were constantly killed and corpses fell like rain. In the end, everyone from the Ji family gathered. Under the leadership of a fourth-level spiritual god realm expert, they seized a token. The Qianxia Academy and the Valley of Medicine Masters joined forces and also seized a token under the leadership of a fourth-level spiritual god realm master. Demon Mountain obtained a token. The most surprising thing was that the Emperor God had seized a token with the help of the Space Intent Realm. He was so fast that no one could stop him. There was also a baby-faced monk with big fluttering sleeves who looked harmless. He killed a group of experts with a single palm strike and seized a token. It was a shocking scene. Even Yang Padian and Tuoba Shi looked at this monk with a solemn expression. The holy monk of the Western Desert. Yang Padian muttered to himself. It's that unscrupulous monk again. Lu Ming muttered. The last token was in the hands of the Floating Mountain sect. As for Cold Blood Hall, Sky Eagle Fort and Sky Martial Sword School, they were very unwilling to lose their tokens because their leaders had died in battle. Those who had obtained the tokens were divided into several areas, far away from the others. The others were helpless. Although they were burning with excitement, those who had obtained the tokens now were all very powerful. Only the Emperor God seemed to be the weakest, but he had the space mentality so no one could catch him. This is the token of the Saint Mansion. With this token you can enter the Saint Mansion. Lu Ming sized up the token in his hand and channeled his essential core. Buzz. The token of the Saint Mansion suddenly trembled and glowed. A circle of light enveloped Lu Ming. Other than that, there were 3 more circles of light floating around him. Why are there 3 more rings of light? Lu Ming was a little surprised. At this time the others also realized the problem. As long as they injected their vital essence, 4 rings of light would appear on the token of the Saint Mansion. 1 of them would cover them and 3 more would appear. I know. These 3 rings of light represent that I can bring 3 more people in. That should be the case. I'm guessing that there's a large array set up around the Saint Mansion, and only those who are covered by this light circle can enter. Some of them shouted and their eyes lit up. Wouldn't there be 27 more spots? Many people looked at those who had obtained tokens, especially Yang Padian. Emperor gods had obtained tokens by them Slaviers, so they had extra spots. Brother D, I'm willing to pay a high price to buy 3 slots. Is that possible? Een Bupo from the Sky Eagle Castle looked at the Divine Emperor and spoke first. Een Bupo, your appetite is too big. You want to buy 3 spots, can you swallow it? Some people were unhappy and wanted to buy a quota from the Emperor God. Brother Yang? Some people looked at Yang Padian wanting to buy a spot from him. Get lost. Yang Padian coldly spat out. Those people could only retreat. As for Tuoba Shi's side, there were a few other Northern Plains Heavens favorites who had already taken up the spots. Chapter 1084. 1084 Chapter 1084 Fighting a Giant in the Saint Mansion. As for the Ji family, Floating Mountain, Demon Mountain, and Qianxia Academy, they didn't even have enough for them Slaviers, so they naturally wouldn't sell it. For the time being, only Lu Ming, the unscrupulous monk, and the Emperor and God could use the spots. Brother Lu. Fairy Tanxiang looked over. I'll give my place to the Valley of the Medicine Masters and the Qianxia Academy. Lu Ming smiled. The people from Medicine King's Valley and Qianxia Academy were overjoyed. This way they had 3 more places. In the end, the Emperor God sold the 3 spots. The unscrupulous monk smiled and made a huge profit, selling the 3 spots as well. This way, excluding Yang Potion's 3 spots, there were a total of 33 people who could enter. Buzz. At this moment, the giant mountain was extremely bright. It formed a huge pillar of light that shot into the sky. The beam of light hit the palace in the sky, giving off a deafening roar. Boom, boom, boom. The palace slowly appeared. At first it seemed real and illusionary, but it slowly became real. After a few minutes, the palace had become completely real. It was filled with an ancient and vicissitude aura. It floated in the air like a huge city. It was extremely large and majestic. Buzz. Yang Padian was the first to move. It was as if he was traveling through space. His body moved and his figure appeared in front of the palace. Then he stepped out and rushed in. "Let's go, we can't let Yang Padian get there first." The other people who had a quota called out and rushed forward one after another, afraid that Yang Padian would beat them to it. If there were treasures in the Saint Mansion, the first one to enter would naturally get some benefits. Bus. Whoosh. Dozens of figures, all shrouded in a circle of light, rushed towards the palace. Lu Ming and the rest were among them. In front of the palace, there was a door that was half open. Yang Padian was about to rush in. Charge. The rest of the people also rushed over. Nothing happened. Dozens of people rushed into the gate one after another. The others who didn't have a spot looked at each other. "I don't think there's anything wrong with it. We don't need the token to enter." The token was spread by Tianxia Academy, so it might not be true. Someone said, his eyes burning with passion. "That's right. I don't think anyone from Tianxia Academy has ever entered it. It's probably not true." Some others agreed. "Charge. I don't believe it." Someone couldn't hold it in anymore and rushed into the palace. However, as he was flying, he suddenly let out a blood-curdling screech, and his entire body exploded just like that, turning into ashes. The others were dumbfounded. Gulu. Those who had said that they didn't believe what Tianxia Academy had said all took a deep breath and swallowed their saliva. Their faces were pale. If they had acted rashly just now and charged forward first, they would have been the ones to die. As soon as Lu Ming and the rest rushed in, they realized that they were in a huge corridor. It was very long and extended all the way to the front. What a strong pressure. As soon as they entered, everyone landed on the ground because of the powerful pressure. It was a no-fly zone and their flight was stopped. Moreover, not only could they not fly, but the pressure on their bodies was also extremely great, causing their speed to slow down by more than 100 times. This is gravity. Lu Ming sensed it carefully and realized that it was gravity. The gravity was 100 times stronger than outside. Everyone circulated their true yuan and stepped forward. However, the gravity was too strong. Their speed was similar to that of an ordinary person's running. Compared to their original speed, it was a huge difference. And this corridor seemed to be no less than 100 miles. But since he had entered this place, he could only bravely move forward. Gradually, the distance between them widened. Bang! Bang! Yang Padian walked at the forefront. His body was glowing as he strode forward. Then Tuobashir's muscles bulged and he strode forward like a savage beast. In addition, Lu Ming's speed was also extremely fast, second only to Tuobashir. As for the unscrupulous monk, his body was covered in golden light as he walked beside Lu Ming. The two of them had come in a little later, so they were slightly behind Yang Padian and his companion. Behind them were a few burly men. They were the strongest geniuses of the previous generation in their respective forces, and their cultivation had reached the 4th level of the spiritual god realm. Surprisingly, the Emperor God was also walking beside these people. He had the will of space, so he was under less pressure. As for second-grade heavens favorites like Fairy Tan Xiang and Kong Xin, they were slightly behind. Everyone pushed forward with all their might. Slowly they got used to the gravity here and their speed became faster and faster. This journey took 2 days. Yang Padian was the first to walk out of the corridor and rush out. "Stop right there." Tuobashir hollered and followed closely behind Yang Padian. Following that, Lu Ming and the unscrupulous monk also stepped out and walked out of the corridor. Boom. Boom. As soon as they walked out of the corridor, they heard a violent roar. In front of the corridor was a large hall, where Tuobashir and Yang Padian were engaged in an intense battle. The Heaven Scorcher Halberd and the Wolf Fang Club continued to exchange blows, and the deafening rumbles were deafening. On both sides of the hall, there were rows of shilaviers. On the shilaviers there were some jade bottles, jade boxes and boxes. It was obvious that the two of them were fighting for these items. This was the legendary Saint Mansion that surpassed the Emperor level. How precious would the things inside be? Without a second thought, Lu Ming and the heartless monk's eyes lit up and they rushed to the shilaviers on both sides. "Get lost. You're looking for death." Yang Padian and Tuoba Shur roared as they charged at the two of them. Tuoba Shur attacked the heartless monk. He waved his mace and crushed the void like a mountain range. My hair is white, my Buddha is merciful. The heartless monk chanted the name of Buddha and his entire body emitted golden light. His appearance was solemn like the reincarnation of Buddha. He struck out a golden palm print and clashed with the Wolf Fang club. With a boom it actually blocked Tuoba Shur's attack. The two of them began a great battle. On the other side Yang Padian was charging toward Lu Ming. As the heavenly halberd slashed down, the space around it shattered. It even turned into spatial power that wrapped around the heavenly halberd, making it even more destructive. Lu Ming's five-colored wool surrounded him and he had 7 streams of dragon energy on him. His blood-red hair fluttered in the wind. The combat sword formed by his third bloodline changed and actually turned into a blood-red combat halberd. The third bloodline was a drop of blood. It could change at will, be it a sword, a spear, a saber, a halberd, etc. It could change at will without a fixed shape. Clang. Lu Ming wielded the blood halberd and slashed down, clashing with Yang Potion's heavenly halberd. Clang. A terrifying tremor spread out, and the two figures swayed slightly. Then they began to fight again. Boom, 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 boom. In the main hall, the four of them engaged in a peak battle. For a moment, it was difficult to determine who was superior. Peak of the second level of the spiritual god realm. Lu Ming discovered that Yang Potion's cultivation was at the peak of the second level of the spiritual god realm, not much higher than his. However, his combat strength was extremely terrifying. He was the strongest young expert that Lu Ming had ever encountered. The four of them were in a chaotic battle in the hall, and in the blink of an eye, they exchanged dozens of moves. Not far away, footsteps could be heard. It was obvious that the others were approaching. Chapter 1085. 1085 Chapter 1085 Emperor Weapon. The eyes of the four people flashed, and they abandoned their opponents almost at the same time, rushing toward the Shilavirs on both sides. They understood that they couldn't do anything to their opponents for the time being. If they continued to fight, the scene would become even more chaotic when more people appeared. Therefore, the four of them began to search for treasures on the Shilavirs at the same time. Lu Ming waved his hand and a white light emanated. It enveloped the jade bottles, jade boxes and metal boxes on the Shilavirs. They were all stored into the mountain and river diagram. He didn't have time to see what it was, so he put it away first. The four of them went on a frenzied raid, and in just a few breaths, the items on the Shilavirs had been swept clean. The unscrupulous monk in particular had actually forcefully kept a shelf into his storage ring, leaving everyone speechless. However, Lu Ming and the rest soon followed suit and kept the shelf. At this moment, a few more figures rushed out of the corridor. They looked at the empty hall on both sides and were stunned. Bus. Whoosh. At this moment, Lu Ming and the rest had already rushed into the depths of the hall. There was a huge door there. Charge. The few experts behind them, including the Emperor God, rushed forward at the same time and followed closely behind Lu Ming and the rest. After rushing through the door, there was another hall, but this one was bigger and empty. Opposite the hall, there was another door from which a faint light emanated. Their eyes lit up and they quickly rushed in. It was still a large hall, but this hall was exceptionally wide. In the air above the hall, there were 4 balls of light shining with a dazzling light. Those were 4 weapons floating in the air. They were of different colors, but they exuded a terrifying pressure. This is an Emperor's spiritual weapon. Yang Padian growled and immediately rushed towards one of the treasures. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. The so-called Emperor's spiritual weapon was the Emperor of spiritual weapons, just like the martial emperor of the martial artists, standing at the peak of many spiritual weapons. The Emperor's spiritual weapon was a top-grade 9th level spiritual weapon. Even some emperors might not have one, as it had a domain that could assist them in battle. Even emperors would be envious of this place, let alone them. They immediately rushed toward one of the king's spiritual weapons. Lu Ming rushed towards a small fiery red pagoda. The pagoda seemed to be cast from fire jade and it emitted an astonishing amount of heat. An Emperor's spiritual weapon. Behind them, the other experts had also arrived. When they saw the Emperor's spiritual weapons, their eyes turned red with greed as they pounced on the 4 weapons. One of them pounced on Lu Ming. One of them was a brawny man in his 40s with a cultivation of the 4th level of the spiritual god realm. The other was an emperor god. However, Lu Ming was one step faster. His body was like a stream of light as he appeared in front of the small tower and reached out to grab it. However, just as Lu Ming was about to grab it, the small tower emitted a light circle. Lu Ming's grab did not go in. Inscription formation. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This small tower was protected by an inscription array. However, Lu Ming felt that he could break it if he spent some time. Bang. Lu Ming changed his claw to a palm and struck the circle of light. Bang. The ring of light trembled, but it still blocked the attack. At that moment, the Emperor God and the brawny man rushed over. The Emperor's spiritual weapon is mine. The brawny man's eyes were red as he charged at the small tower. The Emperor God's sword hit the ring of light, but it was still intact. Get lost. Die. Lu Ming shouted coldly and swept his blood halberd at the burly man and the Emperor God at the same time. The two of them were shocked and tried to block it at the same time. The blood halberd carried a terrifying killing intent that rolled like a tide and suppressed everything. It blasted toward the two of them. With a bang, their bodies shook violently and they were swept away by Lu Ming. Kill? Lu Ming stared at the Emperor God and charged at him. He planned to kill Dishan here. Dishan was Di Yi's most outstanding junior. If he killed Dishan, Di Yi would be heartbroken. Boom. The blood halberd pressed down and struck at the Emperor God's head. The Emperor God's expression was extremely grave. The space around him trembled like water. Great space-splitting slash. Lu Ming. The Emperor God said in a serious voice. He held the sword with both hands and slashed. The space rolled and a terrible crack was slashed at Lu Ming. This crack had the power to cut through space and could cut through anything. Of course, this was relative. The blood halberd in Lu Ming's hand transformed into the blood sword again. The sword radiance flashed and the space was cut open, including the space crack. This was the terrifying aspect of the 5 slaughter moves. No matter what weapon was used, it could display its power. This was because the 5 slaughter forms were not moves, but focused on intent. Once the intent was there, any weapon could unleash its power. The Emperor God's expression changed drastically, and he retreated rapidly. Kill. Lu Ming's blood-red hair flew in the air. His killing intent surged like a tide. He stepped forward and charged at the Emperor God. Buzz. The Emperor God tried his best to resist, but he was no match for it. He spat out blood and retreated, his face pale. Emperor God was indeed powerful. He had combined space mentality, sword mentality, and golden flame mentality. After his space mentality reached level 4, it became even more mysterious and terrifying. He was even more powerful than Wu Qingkong. However, compared to Lu Ming, he was still a distance away. He was no match at all. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he approached the Emperor God. The Emperor God had no choice but to use instant step, his figure flashing constantly. Buzz. Buzz. Lu Ming formed a seal with both hands and a sealing gate was formed. Dishan's expression changed drastically. He had seen Lu Ming use the sealing gate to seal Xue Feng and the others and then kill them. Spatial shift. The Emperor God roared and spat out a mouthful of blood. However, his body turned illusory. With a final bang, his body collapsed and turned into an illusion. His real body had long disappeared without a trace. No one knew where he had fled to. Lu Ming looked at the line of defense outside the hall. The Emperor God had passed through space and appeared in a hall outside. What a wonderful space concept. Lu Ming's eyes glinted coldly. He did not continue to pursue him. There were plenty of opportunities to kill the Emperor God. Get lost. He turned around and charged towards the brawny man. The brawny man was currently doing his best to break the small pagoda's formation. Lu Ming charged back and struck out with his palm, causing the burly man to spit blood and fly back. He looked at Lu Ming with an extremely grave expression. On the other side, an expert from each side rushed towards Yang Padian, the unscrupulous monk, and Tuoba Shur. The experts who rushed towards the unscrupulous monk and Tuoba Shur were forced to retreat while spitting out blood. As for the experts who rushed towards Yang Padian, they were trapped by Yang Potion's space mentality and killed in one fell swoop. Yang Padian was very unhappy today. Originally, in the central continent he was high and mighty. Other than the other 4 of the top 5 young warriors, no one was his match. However, in this trip to the secret realm of the Saint Mansion, Tuoba Shur had appeared first. His combat strength was not weaker than his, and he had fought with him several times. Behind him, Lu Ming and the unscrupulous monk appeared one after another, displaying their shocking combat strength. They were not weaker than him. Moreover, he had never seen them before. This made him extremely unhappy and his heart was burning with anger. Lu Ming took a glance and continued to crack the small pagoda's array. Chapter 1086. 1086 Chapter 1086 Shocking Change. The other experts' expressions were unsightly, but they did not dare to continue snatching. Lu Ming's group of 4 were too powerful and were obviously stronger than them. If they went crazy and attacked them with all their might, they would be in danger. At that moment, no one dared to fight with Lu Ming and the rest. However, after a flash of light in their eyes, they bypassed Lu Ming and the others and rushed into the depths of the hall. There was another door there that led inside. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming continued to attack. His third bloodline turned into a combat sword and slashed at the light shield that protected the small tower. After dozens of attacks, he finally broke the light shield. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He grabbed the small pagoda. It's so hot. Lu Ming felt that his palm was about to be burnt and there was a meaty fragrance. Lu Ming quickly sent the small tower into the mountain and river diagram. Almost at the same time, Yang Padian and the others also broke the formation and kept the treasures. At the same time, the 4 of them spread out and rushed inside. There was another hall inside. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as he entered the hall, he saw the few experts fighting fiercely. There was only one thing floating in the air of the hall. It was a jade plate. It was crystal clear and exuded a vast and endless pressure. This pressure was too shocking and surpassed everything. It was as if it was the incarnation of the entire heaven and earth. It was extremely terrifying and far exceeded the previous emperor's spiritual weapon. What kind of treasure is this? It's too shocking. Lu Ming was a little stunned. Yang Padian and the others were also stunned. Then their eyes lit up. Judging from its aura, it was beyond an emperor's spiritual weapon. It must be a peerless divine weapon used by someone who had surpassed a martial emperor. It seemed that the Tianxia Academy was right. This was indeed the mansion of someone who had surpassed a martial emperor. A divine weapon used by an existence beyond the martial emperor realm. How terrifying was that? Buzz. Whoosh. Almost at the same time, the 4 of them pounced toward the jade plate. Get lost. Kill. The attacks of these few people were blasted towards those experts. Their faces changed greatly and they hurriedly blocked it but retreated with injuries. Damn it. The few of them were furious and extremely aggrieved, but they were helpless. They were truly helpless. They were all Heaven's Pride experts of the previous generation. In their era they were all powerful figures. They were high and mighty, looking down on Heaven's Pride experts of the same generation. However, after 10 or 20 years, this generation had reached the golden age. Each and every Heaven's Pride expert was more brilliant than them by who knew how many times. Now, even the people of the younger generation were going to berate them and crush them. This made them feel a wave of sadness. This treasure is mine. Yang Potion's eyes flashed with cold killing intent. Ridiculous, who do you think you are? Tuobashir shouted coldly, not giving Yang Padian any face at all. I think this treasure is fated with this poor monk. Please don't fight with this poor monk over it. The unscrupulous monk still had a smile on his face, but his fiery eyes betrayed him. Lu Ming could not be bothered to waste his breath on them. He dashed toward the jade plate. Boom. A golden palm print was aimed at Lu Ming. It was that unscrupulous monk. Benefactor, this treasure is really fated with this little monk. Why do you have to snatch it from this little monk? The monk said. Fate my ass. Stinky monk, get lost. Lu Ming slashed his sword at the heartless monk and it collided with the golden palm print. Almsgiver, don't be angry. The monk called out, but his palm didn't stop. His body glowed like a golden Buddha, and he struck out a few times with terrifying power. Stinky monk, don't pretend in front of me. It was you who used a fake Saint Mansion token to cause a war, right? Don't think that others don't know. I happened to see it. Lu Ming said loudly. The moment he said that, the monk's face froze. Yang Padian and Tuobashir, who were in the middle of a fierce battle, both stopped and looked at the unscrupulous monk with cold eyes. So it was you who was causing trouble. Stinky monk, hand over your life. Yang Padian roared and charged towards the monk. Tuobashir also held his mace and charged at the monk. The two of them were filled with killing intent towards the unscrupulous monk. What kind of people were they? How could they be fooled by the unscrupulous monk? They had been trying to find the person behind the scenes. Ah, damn it, it's a misunderstanding, my two benefactors. The unscrupulous monk shouted and jumped up and down, trying his best to resist. Lu Ming moved and pounced on the jade plate. Buzz. All of a sudden, the jade plate trembled and emitted a terrifying pressure. Lu Ming felt as if he was going against the entire heaven and earth. He was crushed by the terrifying pressure and spat out a mouthful of blood as his body fell. Wong wong wong. The jade plate trembled slightly and emitted a supreme light. Countless inscriptions appeared in the hall and formed terrifying chain-like things that danced in the hall. The unscrupulous monk Yang Padian and Tuobashir couldn't help but stop and look around in shock. They were also shocked by the sudden change. What's going on? At this moment, a group of people rushed in. It was Fairy Tan Xiang, Kong Xian, and the others. Among them were the divine emperors. The people behind had already arrived. When they saw this scene, they were shocked. Oh! A black vortex suddenly appeared on the ground, erupting with a terrifying suction and devouring power. Ah, not good, save me. A few of the weaker ones screamed as they were swallowed by the vortex and disappeared. Not good. Lu Ming and the rest soared into the sky, but it was unusually strenuous. The devouring power was too strong and it was trying to pull them down. Save me. A sharp cry rang out. Yin Bupo transformed into his true form, a giant eagle. He flapped his wings desperately, wanting to resist, but he still couldn't resist and was pulled down. He roared and disappeared. At the same time, Kong Xian's figure was also swallowed. Esilavira light shone from between Fairy Tan Xiang's brows, and medicinal pills flew out, forming a pair of wings to support her. However, she was still quickly sinking. Charge out! Lu Ming roared and flew toward Fairy Sandalwood. He grabbed her slender waist and wanted to bring her out of the hall. However, he could not. The devouring power was too terrifying and he could not pull her. Brother Lu, don't worry about me. You can escape on your own. Fairy Tan Xiang pushed Lu Ming and his body fell into the vortex. At this time, Yang Padian and the others tried their best to rush out of the hall, but it was useless. The devouring power was too strong and they couldn't get out at all. It was the same for Lu Ming. His body was sinking. No. Lu Ming saw a few fourth-level spiritual god realm experts being devoured, including the Divine Emperor and others. In the end, only Lu Ming, Yang Padian, the unscrupulous monk, and Tuobashir were still resisting with all their might. Buzz. All of a sudden, the devouring power increased sharply and multiplied several times. Lu Ming and the other three were devoured and rushed into the vortex. The world seemed to spin as if he had rushed into eternal darkness. Lu Ming felt his vision turn black and he could not remember anything. Chapter 1087. 1087. A Big Dream. The Woman in the Dream. Lu Ming felt that he was drifting in the eternal darkness. He did not know where he was drifting to. Slowly, his mind became more and more confused as if his memories were fading. Everything that had happened in the past seemed to have become blurry and slowly dissipated. Slowly, Lu Ming became ignorant. After an unknown period of time, Lu Ming suddenly sat up. With a creak, he found that he was sitting on a bed. Where is this place? What's wrong with me? I felt like I had a very long dream just now. Lu Ming looked at his surroundings in confusion. At this moment, the door opened and a beautiful young lady walked in. She was 14 to 15 years old and was very beautiful. When she saw that Lu Ming had woken up, she immediately smiled happily and cheered, "Brother Ming, you're finally awake. You really scared me." Yao, Looking at Lu Yao's worried expression, Lu Ming's heart felt warm. He then asked, "Yao, what happened to me? I remember I went to awaken my bloodline 3 days ago. What happened after that?" "Brother Ming, you went to awaken your bloodline 3 days ago. During the process you suddenly fainted. You have been in a coma for 3 days. In these 3 days you have been having nightmares and calling strange names like D. Brother Ming, are you okay?" Lu Yao was a little worried. "I'm fine. It's just a nightmare." Lu Ming smiled faintly. He really had a dream, a very, very long dream. But for some reason the dream in his mind was getting more and more blurry, and he almost couldn't remember it. He only had a vague feeling that in that dream, Lu Yao left him, and he later obtained a treasure, cultivated into a strong man, and went on an adventure on the continent. He only had a vague impression of it, but the more he thought about it, the more blurry and ethereal the dream became. What a strange dream. Lu Ming smiled. Lu Ming, was just a useless young master in Fiery Wind City who could not cultivate. Why would he have such a strange dream? Yao, did I fail in my bloodline awakening? Lu Ming asked. Brother Ming. Lu Yao wanted to say something but stopped. Tell me I'm fine. Lu Ming smiled. Brother Ming, it's a failure, but it's fine. Even if you can't cultivate, you won't change in Yao Er's heart. My father and your mother have already discussed it. We'll hold our wedding in half a month. Lu Yao blinked his eyes and said. After he finished, he was a little shy and his face was a little red. The wedding will be held in half a month. Lu Ming was slightly stunned. At that moment he did not know why, but he felt an inexplicable pain in his heart. A figure appeared in his mind. The figure was very blurry and he could not see its face clearly. It was someone he had met in his dream. It was a woman. A sense of reluctance surged in Lu Ming's heart. This figure seemed to be very important to him. Who was it? Why do I feel my heart ache? Was it really a dream? Lu Ming was stunned and mumbled to himself. Brother Ming, what happened? Don't scare Yao. Lu Yao called out. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He came to his senses and smiled. I'm fine. I'm just thinking about that dream again. Brother Ming, it's just a dream. Don't think too much and drink your medicine. Lu Yao picked up the medicine at the side and fed it to Lu Ming. At this moment, two people walked into the room. One was a beautiful woman, and the other was a beautiful teenage girl. Mother, Chuyue. Lu Ming called out. Ming, have a good rest. You're going to be the groom in half a month. Li Ping smiled slightly and revealed a doting expression. That's right, young master. Chuyue wants to congratulate you. The young girl at the side said in a sweet voice. Chuyue. Lu Ming looked at Qiuyu. In the dream, Qiuyu seemed to have become a martial arts genius, but it was only a seemingly feeling. Lu Ming felt that the dream had become more muddled and was slowly fading away as time passed. Ming, you've just woken up, so you should rest well. Don't let your thoughts run wild. Li Ping said. Then she left the room with Qiuyu and Lu Yao. That dream. That's strange. Who is that figure? In the room, Lu Ming was lying on the bed in a daze. Time passed very quickly. As the days went by, Lu Ming's body recovered quickly. The dream in his mind was also becoming more and more blurry. As time passed, it became more and more blurry. He believed that he would completely forget it very soon. But for some reason, every time he thought of that dream, a figure would appear, causing Lu Ming's heart to ache. Who was that figure? Why does it feel so real? Lu Ming muttered. It was a woman's figure which was hard to erase from his mind. In the Lu clan's backyard, a small stream flowed by. There was a pavilion beside the small stream, and in the pavilion, a young man and a young woman were snuggling up to each other. Brother Ming, Yao is going to marry you tomorrow. I'll never be separated from you again. Lu Yao said in a low voice, his eyes showing anticipation and shyness. Lu Ming hugged Lu Yao, feeling extremely relaxed. The gentle breeze on his Buddha's face revealed a faint floral fragrance. This way. That's good. Lu Ming looked at the sky and thought of this. If he couldn't cultivate, then so be it. If he could live an ordinary life, wouldn't that be good? Lu Ming really enjoyed such a life. That dream was a dream after all. Let it drift away with the wind. Only that figure could not be erased. It would occasionally appear in Lu Ming's mind. Lu Ming, wake up. Suddenly Lu Ming heard a voice. Lu Ming was stunned. He turned to look around but did not see anyone. Lu Yao was still in his arms as if he had not heard anything. What are you looking at? I'm here in the stream. The voice rang out again. Lu Ming was shocked and quickly looked at the stream. He saw a little turtle floating in the stream staring at him. You're talking to me? Lu Ming's eyes widened in disbelief. What are you looking at? If it's not this seat, who can it be? The little turtle berated. Brother Ming, what's wrong? Who are you talking to? Lu Yao looked at Lu Ming in surprise. Taking a deep breath to calm himself down, Lu Ming said, It's nothing. You heard wrong. Yao you can go back first. I'll go and welcome you tomorrow. And okay. Yao will wait for you. Lu Yao blinked his eyes and jogged away. Immediately after, Lu Ming looked at the little turtle and was extremely surprised. A turtle? No, a turtle can actually speak. Could it be the legendary king-class turtle? No, senior. Junior. Lu Ming greets senior. Lu Ming bowed to the little turtle. In his memory, only the legendary king-level demonic beasts could speak. He was shocked to find a king-level demonic beast in the backyard of the Lu family. There might not even be a king-tier demonic beast in the entire Blazing Sun Empire. King-tier my ass. I'm the world turtle, the top of the top 10 war beast. What king-tier? You're not even fit to carry my shoes. Kid Lu Ming, you've been hit by an illusion. You're in an illusion. Why don't you wake up? Do you want to sink into it for the rest of your life? The little turtle shouted. Chapter 1088. 1088 Saint Stage Saint. Illusion? An illusion? I remember everything that happened to me clearly. How could I be in an illusion? Senior must be joking. Lu Ming frowned. What a joke. You're Lu Ming. In the real world, your bloodline was deprived by Lu Yao. Fortunately, you got the help of the broken soul of the 9 sons, merged with the blood essence of the 9 dragons, and awakened the bloodline of the 9 dragons. That's how you rose to power. Have you forgotten? The little turtle called out. What? Yao stole my bloodline? Impossible? How is that possible? You're spouting nonsense. Lu Ming had a look of disbelief on his face. However, after hearing what the little turtle said, the dream that he had in the past, the dream that was getting fainter and fainter, actually appeared again. It seemed to have become clearer. Nonsense. You won first place in the Battle of Providence and became the top 1,000 of the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory. You're the Zongzi of the Talisman Amulet Sect. Now that the Talisman Amulet Sect is besieged by Martial Emperor De and is in danger, are you going to just leave it be? Lu Ming's body trembled slightly with every word the little turtle said. His eyes were filled with complicated emotions and he was struggling. The Talisman Amulet Sect, the list of top 1,000 talents. Lu Ming mumbled to himself. He felt that the dream was becoming clearer and clearer, as if it was about to surface. Ew. What's his name? I think I had a dream before and I also had a little turtle. Lu Ming's eyes were even more confused. As the dream slowly emerged, he was in the intersection of the dream and reality. He could not tell which was real and which was fake. Perhaps, everything was just a dream. I. The little turtle's eyes went wide and he finally cried out, It's fucking called Dandan and you named it, you bastard. It's so fucking unpleasant to hear. Dandan. Lu Ming muttered to himself and seemed to have thought of something. Also, are you not going to care about your little lover and wife, Xian Yanqing? She was captured by her father and her life is uncertain now. You're giving up just like that? Dandan shouted. Boom, boom, boom. Xian Yanqing's name exploded in Lu Ming's mind like thunder. The figure that could not be erased, the figure that made one's heart ache at the thought of it, suddenly became clear and vivid in Lu Ming's mind. Following that, the dream became clear in Lu Ming's mind. Nianqing, right, I'm now in the secret realm of the Saint Mansion of the Tianxia Academy. This is an illusion. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up and emitted an endless glow. Real and fake, fake and real. Everything is an illusion. My heart won't move. Lu Ming suddenly shouted and threw a punch. Voila. The surrounding scene seemed to have been shattered by Lu Ming's punch. It began to peel away and finally disappeared completely. Lu Ming realized that he was standing in a long corridor. Dan was lying on his shoulder. What a powerful illusion. Lu Ming heaved a long sigh of relief. He was extremely shocked. That illusion was too powerful. It erased his true memories and made him fall into an eternal illusion, unable to extricate himself. This time it was really dangerous. If it wasn't for the fact that he was in danger, he might really be trapped in the illusion forever. That would be equivalent to death. At the thought of this, Lu Ming could not help but feel a little scared. His back was drenched in cold sweat. Kid, this place is no small matter. An emperor would definitely not be able to do it. Be careful, I'm hiding. After saying that, Dandan automatically entered the mountain and river diagram. Lu Ming scanned his surroundings. He remembered that they had been swallowed by a vortex previously. However, he was the only one around. Yang Padian, Tuoba Shi, and Goddess Tan Xiang were nowhere to be seen. This was a passageway that led straight ahead. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and walked forward. After walking through the passage, they came to a secret chamber. The secret chamber was huge. Above the secret chamber, Lu Ming saw a bead the size of a longan floating. The moment Lu Ming stepped into the secret chamber, the bead suddenly emitted a blinding light. In the light, a figure appeared. The figure sat cross-legged in the air, and the bead was right in the middle of the figure's eyebrows. The figure was not very burly, but the aura it exuded was earth-shattering. It gave Lu Ming the feeling that he was facing the heavenly Tao. The vast might of heaven filled the air. It was irresistible and irresistible. This was Lu Ming's intuitive feeling. When he faced this figure, it was as if he was facing the entire world. It was not that Lu Ming had not felt the majesty of an emperor. The pressure that an emperor emitted was simply child's play compared to this figure. It was as if the emperor was an ant in front of this figure. Gulu. Lu Ming swallowed his saliva and raised his head with difficulty to look at the figure. Fortunately, the unparalleled aura was retracted as soon as it was released. The figure opened its eyes and looked at Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to be completely seen through. To actually be able to pass through the illusionary realm I set up, not bad. The figure said. Junior Lu Ming pays his respects to Senior. Lu Ming bowed. He knew that the person in front of him was most likely the legendary existence above the emperor level in Tianxia Academy. He was shocked. It was said that the Saint Mansion's secret realm had existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Could this person have lived for hundreds of thousands of years? This was really unimaginable. The figure seemed to have read Lu Ming's mind and said, "Little guy, don't think too much. I can't live that long. What you see is just the saint heart I left behind and a trace of my origin mark. The real me has been dead for many years." Saint Heart. Lu Ming was puzzled. He had no idea what the Saint Heart was. Yes, it's normal that you don't understand. You're located in a remote area on a desolate island, so it's normal that you don't know. Above the Emperor Realm is the Saint Realm, also known as the Saint Realm, which condenses the Saint Heart. The elder said. The figure casually explained. Saint Stage Saint. Lu Ming mumbled to himself. He finally knew what was the realm above the Emperor Realm. It was the saint. The figure in front of him must be a saint. Yes, you have great luck. Unfortunately, you are not an inscription master. I became a saint through the Tao of inscription when I was alive. Otherwise, I could pass on my legacy to you. The figure suddenly sighed. Inscriber inheritance. Lu Ming's eyes were glowing. Although he was not an inscriber, his second body was. His second body had no other thoughts and focused on the Tao of inscriber. Now he had advanced to an extremely profound realm. It would be great if he was here. Senior, did the others not pass the illusion? Lu Ming asked. No, they all failed, but I won't really make things difficult for them. I've already made them wake up. Look. The saint waved his hand, and images suddenly appeared in the air. He saw Yang Padian, Tuoba Shur, the unscrupulous monk Kong Xian, and the others in their respective secret rooms, looking around. Fairy Tan Xiang. Lu Ming noticed that Fairy Tan Xiang was the most special. She was sitting cross-legged in a secret room, her entire body glowing, and the Esilavira mental energy fire between her brows was dancing. Chapter 1089. 1089 The Saint's Legacy. This little girl is very talented in the Tao of inscription. Unfortunately, she's still a little lacking. I'll give her some benefits and hope that she can gain something. The saint said. Lu Ming was happy for Fairy Tan Xiang. Although this person had already passed away, he had been a saint when he was alive, an existence that had surpassed emperors. If he said that he had given them some benefits, it was definitely not a small matter. Even emperors would be envious. All right, little guy, since you can come here and pass my test, I won't let you return empty-handed. I'll give you some benefits and then send you out. With that, the saint waved his hand, and those images disappeared without a trace. Senior, wait a moment, this junior might be able to inherit Senior's mantle. Lu Ming said hurriedly. You? Hee little fellow, don't talk nonsense. I see that you don't have any mental energy fire at all, so how can you inherit my legacy? The saint smiled indifferently. Has Senior ever heard of the Twin Forbidden Spell? Lu Ming said. Twin Forbidden Spell? The saint frowned slightly, looking confused. He had obviously never heard of it. Senior, the Twin Forbidden Art is able to cultivate a second body. Lu Ming then told her about the Twin Forbidden technique and what he had learned. When the saint first heard that the twin forbidden technique could actually cultivate a clone that was the same as the original and could be cultivated wholeheartedly, he was extremely shocked. He had never heard of such a strange technique in the world. After hearing that Lu Ming had obtained it in the Battle of Providence, he was relieved. It wasn't strange for one to encounter any kind of fortuitous encounter in the Battle of Providence. This was because this saint had also participated in the Battle of Providence when he was young. There's actually such a secret technique in the world. According to what you've said, not only did your second body inherit your talent, but it also has no distracting thoughts. In this case, it's really suitable for my legacy. The saint sighed, his eyes bright. Back then, due to an accident, he was heavily injured and on the verge of death. He escaped to the divine wilderness continent and searched for this mystic realm. In order to hide from his enemies, he still died here in the end, leaving behind his saint heart and a trace of his mark. The mark was attached to the saint's heart, which was why it had been preserved for so many years, but it would disappear sooner or later. When a powerhouse was about to die, they did not wish for their lifetime of cultivation and achievements to go to waste. They all wanted to find a suitable successor to pass on their legacy. Lu Ming was undoubtedly the most suitable. But Senior, my second body is currently trapped in a place by an enemy. I'm afraid he won't be able to come for the time being. Lu Ming sighed. Oh, how about this? Take this formation plate. As long as you give it to your clone and have him activate the inscriptions on it, you'll be able to directly teleport here. The saint took out an array disc and handed it to Lu Ming. Lu Ming received it in joy and thanked the saint again. Yes, my name is Tianxian. You can call me the Tianxian saint. That's all. I'll send you out now. There's no need to open this secret realm in the future. I'll seal it forever and no one will be able to enter. The profound sky saint was about to send Lu Ming and the rest out. Senior, please wait. Lu Ming called out hurriedly. What? The profound sky saint was stunned. Allow me to change my appearance. Junior still has enemies outside. Lu Ming chuckled and his body transformed again. After a while, his body became thinner and he turned into a young man with a pale face. Even his aura had changed greatly. No one could recognize him now. All right, I'm done. Lu Ming said. The profound sky saint waved his hand, and the space twisted. Lu Ming felt a force pulling him and his body instantly disappeared. At this moment, Goddess Tan Xiang Yang Padian and the others as well as the people outside the Saint Mansion, were all enveloped by a force and disappeared. Tianxia Academy, outside the Wanxiang Jade Wall. The 9 beams of light suddenly disappeared without a trace, and the myriad elephant jade wall returned to its calm state. What's going on? The crowd was in an uproar, and even many supreme martial artists' faces changed. What's going on? Why did the 9 pillars of light suddenly disappear? Those who went and haven't come out yet. A supreme from a large force said with an ugly expression. Many people looked at a supreme from the Tianxia Academy. I don't know either. Such a thing has never happened before. The Tianxia Academy's supreme martial artist said with a heavy expression. Then, can you open it again? A supreme martial artist asked. The supreme from the Tianxia Academy shook his head, which caused an uproar. There were many people from the major powers in there. For example, the strongest inheritors of the Floating Mountain sect and Devil Mountain were all in there. If they were to be trapped in there, it would be a huge loss. On the other hand, the people from the Heavenly Martial Sword School and Cold Blood Hall were gloating. This was because their successor had been killed by Lu Ming and had come out a long time ago. The most outstanding geniuses of the previous generation had also been killed. Even if the remaining people did not come out, they would not suffer as much as the other forces. At this moment, the space above the myriad elephant jade wall twisted, and several figures emerged. They're out, they're out. Many people were ecstatic. In the sky, more than 10,000 people appeared. Everyone saw Yang Padian, Goddess Tan Xiang, Kong Xan, and the other heaven's favorites. What's going on? How's the Holy Prefecture? One by one, the supreme martial artists spoke out with excitement in their eyes. They had heard about the Saint Mansion from Wu Qingkong when he was killed. They were all shocked, but they were also looking forward to it. They wanted to rush in them Slaviers. An existence that surpassed an emperor wasn't just for show. It was simply too alluring, especially for many supreme beings. They were stuck at the supreme being realm and had never been able to break through to the emperor realm. If they could obtain the inheritance or comprehension of an existence that had surpassed the emperor realm, they might be able to break through. In a flash, Goddess Tan Xiang, Kong Xan Junyu, and the others flew to their respective supremes and explained the situation of entering the Saint Mansion. What? You've all failed. When they heard that Kong Xian and the other Heaven's Pride experts didn't pass the test, everyone sighed and felt very regretful. But then they turned their eyes to Yang Padian, Tuoba Shi, and the unscrupulous monk. These people had surpassed the second-grade Heaven's Pride and were Heaven's Pride experts of the big shots. Perhaps they had succeeded? My hair is white, my Buddha is merciful, this little monk is ashamed, my heart is not strong, I still need to train. The heartless monk had a solemn look on his face as he chanted the name of Buddha, his face filled with compassion. In the crowd, Lu Ming looked down on him. If he had not seen the monk's true face, he would have thought that this fellow was a respectable senior monk. The unscrupulous monk's words meant that he had also failed. Damn it, that illusionary realm was indeed powerful. Even I couldn't pass it. Tuoba Shi grinned. We're on par. Tuoba Shi, let's fight another day, Yang Padian said coldly. Then he strode out of the Qianxia Academy and disappeared in a flash. No one stopped him. Not only was Yang Padian a peerless genius, but he also came from the heaven-suppressing divine army. The heaven-suppressing divine army was too powerful. It was the only force that could compete with the ancient Saint dynasty among the 18 overlords of the central continent. It was even more powerful than the heavenly martial sword faction. Chapter 1090. 1090 Heading to Central Continent's holy city. Yang Potion's words were clear. He had also failed. It seemed that no one had succeeded this time. No, there was still one more person. The crowd suddenly thought of something. Where was Lu Shaoqing, the young genius who killed the master of Blood Net and the experts from Cold Blood Hall, Wu Tsang, Xuefeng and the other fourth-level spiritual god realm experts, and Wu Qingkong? Why isn't he here? Where's Lu Shaoqing? The Supreme of Cold Blood Hall and the Heavenly Martial Sword School scanned the surroundings with sharp eyes. They spread out their spiritual consciousness in search of Lu Ming. Supreme Martial Artist, Lu Shaoqing is an expert in disguise. He can even change his aura. He must be in the crowd. Shui Luozi shouted. He had fought with Lu Shaoqing in the city of Dan, so he was very familiar with Lu Shaoqing's appearance and aura. However, Lu Shaoqing's appearance and aura in the secret realm of the Saint Mansion were completely different. If he had not recognized Lu Ming's devouring power, he would not have recognized Lu Ming. Therefore he knew that Lu Ming was definitely skilled in the art of disguise. Humph, you think I can't find you in a crowd? I'll check them one by one. The supreme martial artist of the heavenly martial sword faction released a terrifying aura. His spiritual sense was like a storm, enveloping Lu Ming and the others who had entered the secret realm of the Saint Mansion. Many people's faces changed. Lu Ming's expression changed slightly before returning to normal. Check them one by one. How are you going to check? A supreme martial artist from another power said unhappily. I'll search their souls one by one. The Supreme of Blood Luo sect sneered. Haha, soul search? Who do you think you are? How can my floating mountain sect's disciples let you search their souls? The supreme martial artist of the floating mountain sect laughed. His voice was ice cold. That's right, who do you think you are? How can I let you search the soul of a disciple of the Sky Eagle Castle? If you want to capture Lu Shaoqing, you have to think of a way. The supreme being of the Sky Eagle Castle sneered. Some of the supreme beings from the Overlord forces looked coldly at the supreme being from Cold Blood Hall and the supreme being from the Heavenly Martial Sword School. As they were all Overlord forces, they were not afraid of the two. The Heavenly Martial Sword faction and Cold Blood Hall had suffered heavy losses because of Lu Shaoqing, and now they wanted to search their disciples' souls. Wasn't that ridiculous? The supreme beings of Cold Blood Hall and Heavenly Sword School looked terrible. The disciples of the Overlord forces can leave, but the other forces and itinerant cultivators have to stay. We'll search their souls. The supreme martial artist from the Heavenly Martial Sword faction muttered to himself for a moment before speaking. What? You want to search our souls? No, don't be too overbearing. I won't agree to it. This is the Qianxia Academy, not the Qianwu Sword School or Cold Blood Hall. Immediately the people from the small forces started to shout. Everyone had their own secrets. How could they let others search their souls? Shut up. The supreme martial artist of the Heavenly Martial Sword faction shouted as a vast sword power bloomed out, causing many people to be unable to breathe. Overlord forces were tyrannical. Other than forces of the same level, other forces were like ants in their eyes. In fact, this was the case. Once an emperor appeared, no one could compete with him. Hoo-hoo. At this moment, clouds gathered in the sky. The endless clouds gathered to form a huge face, and an endless imperial pressure spread out. The emperor has appeared. Someone shouted, and many people's faces changed. Greetings, Your Majesty. Everyone in the Tianxia Academy, be it ordinary disciples or supreme martial artists, bowed respectfully. This was because he was the emperor of the Tianxia Academy. The other people also saluted in a hurry. This was a sign of respect for the emperor. Let them go. Since they are in the Tianxia Academy must ensure everyone's safety. The emperor spoke indifferently, but his words were unquestionable. But the supreme martial artist from the heavenly martial sword faction wanted to say something. No need to say more, go. The king interrupted him. The supreme beings of the heavenly martial sword school and cold blood hall nodded. They had to respect the king's request and finally agreed helplessly. Let's go. The supreme martial artist from the sky martial sword faction glanced at the people from the small forces and the rogue cultivators, then left with the people from the sky martial sword faction. The supreme of cold blood hall also left with his people. After that, the people from the other overlord forces also left. With a whoosh, the giant face in the sky disappeared without a trace. The emperor's aura also disappeared without a trace, as if it had never appeared. However, the people from the small forces did not leave. They planned to take the teleportation formation of the Tianxia Academy to leave because the Jianghu sword sect and cold blood hall might intercept them outside the Tianxia Academy. It was too dangerous to go out like this. The safest way was to leave through the teleportation array. The Tianxia Academy had no reason to refuse, because taking the teleportation array would cost them a large amount of spiritual crystals and raw stones. They could make a lot of money. Lu Ming was also in the crowd. He also planned to take the teleportation array and leave the Tianxia Academy. In the air, Kong Xian and Goddess Tan Xiang glanced around, presumably looking for Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming had no intention of showing himself. He found a random mountain peak and sat cross-legged, quietly cultivating. There were too many people now, and they would definitely have to line up at the teleportation array. It would be better to set off in a few days. After the three of them left, Lu Ming made his move. After paying a sum of raw gemstones, Lu Ming stepped into the teleportation array. Sacred City, I'm here. Little Qing, how are you now? Lu Ming's heart stirred. His destination was the sacred city of the central continent, the imperial capital of the ancient Saint dynasty, the largest city in the world. The teleportation array flashed and Lu Ming's figure disappeared. The central continent's sacred city was the largest city in the divine wilderness. It was the imperial capital of the ancient sacred dynasty. In the 8 directions of the sacred city, there were 8 satellite cities that surrounded and protected the sacred city. These 8 satellite cities all had teleportation formations. If outsiders wanted to enter the holy city, they could only teleport to the satellite city first, then fly to the holy city. On this day, the teleportation array of a satellite city in the east flashed and Lu Ming appeared. Lu Ming did not stay in the satellite city. He left the satellite city and soared into the sky, flying towards the sacred city. The distance between the satellite city and the holy city was at least 10 million miles. However, Lu Ming's current speed was terrifying. He crossed the distance in no time and a huge city appeared in front of him. The first impression Lu Ming had of the holy city was that it was ancient, weathered, and full of the traces of time. The huge city wall was covered with sword marks, which seemed to describe the ancient history of the sacred city. The central continent's sacred city was huge and grand. However, among all the big cities in the divine wilderness continent, it was definitely not the largest, nor was it considered the top. At the very least, the 9 Dragons city of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace was much bigger than the sacred city. However, the sacred city was still the #1 city in the world. The holy city had existed for far too long and had left behind countless legends. There were also countless secrets within. Moreover, there were many entrances to secret realms in the holy city. In fact, those secret realms could be considered a part of the holy city. With those secret realms, the holy city's scope was terrifyingly large. No one knew how many powerful cultivators were hidden in those secret realms or how many secrets they contained. Therefore, although the ancient Saint dynasty of the Central Continent had declined, it was still the most powerful force in the Central Continent. No one dared to underestimate it. Chapter 1091. 1091 Chapter 1091 Changing Identity. Lu Ming flew toward the holy city and landed on a pipe. He followed the crowd and walked into the city gate. There were soldiers standing guard at the city gates. Lu Ming swept his gaze across them and realized that these soldiers were all spirit embryo realm experts. After a brief check, Lu Ming entered the holy city. At once, he was greeted with an ancient and simple aura. In the sacred city, any street, palace, or house was filled with the aura of time, as if they had crossed time and space from millions of years ago. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth is so rich. It even contains origin qi. Also, I can clearly sense the essence realm of heaven and earth. The entire sacred city is like a large array that continuously gathers the spiritual qi and origin qi of heaven and earth. Lu Ming secretly sighed. If he cultivated here, his cultivation speed would definitely be very fast. The holy city was divided into the outer city, the inner city, and the core of the palace. Ordinary martial artists, small forces, and itinerant cultivators all lived in the outer city. The inner city was occupied by some of the powerful forces in the sacred city, such as the mansions of the nobles and ministers of the ancient Saint dynasty. Of course, the other overlords of the Central Continent had branches in the sacred city and people were stationed there all year round. As for the royal palace, it was where the core members of the Xie clan of the ancient Saint dynasty lived. Lu Ming strolled around casually. He was in the outer city now. He was thinking about how to sneak into the palace and find out about Xian Yanqing. After strolling around for a while, Lu Ming walked towards a restaurant. A restaurant was the best place to gather information. After ordering a few dishes and wine, Lu Ming sat down at a table. In another 2 months, the million-year national sacrifice of the ancient Saint dynasty will be here. At that time, the sacred city will be lively again. That's for sure. This is the million-year national sacrifice. How important is it? At that time, not only the overlord forces of Central Continent, but other forces of all sizes will gather in the sacred city. Even forces from Western Desert, Northern Plains, Southern Nether and Eastern Barren will send people over. That's really lively. It's a rare sight. At that time, all the heavens' favorites from all over the world will gather. This is a rare occasion. That's most likely the case. This generation is really full of experts. When the heavens' favorites gather, there will inevitably be conflicts. Lu Ming had just sat down when he heard some important news. A million-year national sacrifice. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. The Xie family of the ancient sacred dynasty had been established for 1,000,000 years. It was truly shocking. In the entire divine wilderness, which faction could have such a long history? It was too shocking. Even though the ancient Saint dynasty was on the decline, and the various emperors had their own territories, they still had to give the ancient Saint dynasty some respect in name. They still had to listen to the ancient Saint dynasty's orders. Of course, this was only in name. Therefore, even if it was just for show, those powers still had to come to the million-year national sacrifice of the ancient Saint dynasty. At that time, the emperors of some overlord forces might descend. I'm really looking forward to it. When the time comes, the winds and clouds will definitely gather, and experts will be as numerous as clouds. I heard that the Imperial Palace has already issued an order to expand the Imperial Dragon Guards to maintain order in the Holy City and protect the Imperial Palace. There's such a thing? When do you want to start recruiting? I want to try. It has already started today. We've been recruiting for the past half a month so we can give it a try. However, the Imperial Dragon Guard's recruitment requirements are very high. Without a cultivation of the spirit embryo realm, it's impossible to enter. Lu Ming continued to listen and indeed he heard a lot of news. The Imperial Dragon Guards. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The Imperial Dragon Guards were the Imperial Guards of the ancient Saint dynasty. They were responsible for guarding the palace and protecting the safety of the royal family. Didn't he want to sneak into the palace? Wouldn't it be fine if he joined the Imperial Dragon Guards? However, the Imperial Dragon Guard was to guard the palace and protect the royal family. Their identities had to be thoroughly investigated before they could join. Otherwise, if anyone could join, then wouldn't the safety of the royal family be at risk? Lu Ming's gaze shifted. He picked up his wine glass and walked towards a table at the side. "Two big brothers, please. I heard you say that you wanted to join the Imperial Dragon Guards, right?" Lu Ming raised his glass and smiled. At this table there were two burly men. One looked to be in his 40s and the other looked to be in his 30s with a full beard. "That's right. What can I do for you, little brother?" The strong man with a full beard looked at Lu Ming and asked. "This little brother comes from a small force and has just entered the Holy City. I want to find a job and join the Imperial Dragon Guards. I heard the two of you talking about this matter just now. Perhaps we can work together in the future, so I wanted to make friends with you," Lu Ming said with a smile. Upon hearing Lu Ming's words, their expressions relaxed and they smiled. "He's the one who wants to join, so I won't go. However, little brother, the conditions to join the Imperial Dragon Guards aren't low. You need to be at the Spirit Embryo realm." The 40-odd tough man laughed. "That's just as well. This little brother has just broken through to the Spirit Embryo realm. It's just in time to give it a try." With that, Lu Ming's body emitted a faint aura. It was the aura of the first-level Spirit Embryo realm. Not only could the illusionary breath technique change one's aura, but it could also hide one's cultivation. Now, Lu Ming was hiding his cultivation to the first level of the Spirit Embryo realm. When they realized that Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the first-level Spirit Embryo realm, the two of them were even more relieved. The burly man with a full beard said, "Little brother, you're so young, yet you're able to reach the first level of Spirit Embryo realm. You can be considered a heaven's favorite. I'm impressed. You're overpraising me, big brothers. Come, let's drink to our heart's content," Lu Ming said generously. "Haha, how can I accept this?" The man in his 40s laughed. This was the Holy City. The food and wine in any restaurant were not cheap. Since Lu Ming was treating them, the two of them had a better impression of him. The three of them continued drinking. Lu Ming was new to the Holy City and did not know much about it. He asked the two of them for advice and they told him everything they knew. Lu Ming learned that the two of them came from a small force outside the Holy City called the Black Spear Sect. They were not far from the Holy City and often came to the Holy City to purchase items. The man in his 40s was called Ma Wu, and the man in his 30s with a full beard was called Ming Lu. "Ming Lu, what a coincidence, my name is read backwards, isn't that Ming Lu?" Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. The three of them chatted and drank. After 3 rounds of drinking, Ma Wu and Ming Lu drank to their heart's content. "Junior brother Ming Lu, since you want to join the Imperial Dragon Guard, then stay here and sign up with little brother Lu. I'll return to the sect first and tell you about your matter. If you work in the Imperial Dragon Guard, it'll be much more convenient for our Black Spear Sect in the future," Ma Wu said. "Alright, senior brother Ma, you can go back first. I'll go and register tomorrow." Ming Lu nodded. After that, Ma Wu bade farewell and left. Lu Ming and Ming Lu found an inn nearby to stay in and planned to register the next day. Very soon night fell. Lu Ming concealed his aura and entered Ming Lu's room without a sound. "Who?" Ming Lu had just opened his mouth when Lu Ming struck out with his palm and knocked Ming Lu out. Then he kept Ming Lu into the mountain and river diagram and let Dan inscribe an array, trapping him on the ground. "I'm sorry, I'll borrow your identity for a while. I'll definitely compensate you in the future," Lu Ming muttered. His muscles and bones began to wriggle, transforming into Ming Lu's appearance. Then his aura changed as well, becoming very similar to Ming Lu's. "I'm still missing a beard." Lu Ming smiled and left the inn. He bought a fake beard and stuck it on his face. Instantly he looked exactly like Ming Lu. Even if Ma Wu was by his side, he would not be able to recognize that Lu Ming was a fake. Lu Ming had used Ming Lu's identity to sneak into the Imperial Dragon Guards, waiting for an opportunity to find out Xian Yanqing's whereabouts. As for Ming Lu, he could only temporarily stay in the mountain and river diagram. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.